Hey Browns fans, this is your chance to join the company of some of the Browns' all-time greats on the first ever Browns fan cruise. Picture this. For 5 unforgettable days, you're sailing across the beautiful Caribbean Sea, reliving the Browns' greatest moments, getting autographs, snapping photos, and celebrating on the beach with your favorite Browns alumni, like Josh Cribbs, Webster Slaughter, Eric Metcalf, and a dozen others. Book now and take advantage of our easy, budget-friendly payment plans on this once-in-a-lifetime, all-inclusive cruise adventure. The clock's ticking, Browns fans. To book your cabin and for more information, visit brownsfancruise.com or call 216-284-6472 today. Browns Fan Cruise, where diehard fans and Browns alumni come together for the trip of a lifetime. Don't wait. Secure your spot today. And go Browns!
It's time for the Burning River Sportscast. Former Raven, Bronco, and Jet, the man we all thought was washed up and flaccid. Turns out he's still the original Cool Joe Flacco. And he's got the city so engorged and ready to burst that practically every doctor in the country is worried. Cool Joe has led this team with a calm and a poise that many Browns fans haven't seen in ages. Do you believe in miracles? Because Frumpy Joe certainly has me believing that this team could compete with any of the potential playoff teams heading into the offseason. Could this team truly be a team of destiny? Does this motley crew have what it takes to withstand injuries and keep playing next man up football? Or will the attrition of the NFL simply be too much to overcome as the Browns head into the home stretch? Plagued by injuries, this team is teetering on the edge of greatness, but we all know how quickly things can change in the CLE. And we'll break down the rest for you next on the Burning River Sportscast.
If there's a publicly paid for restroom, we will deface it with random things. That's human nature.
I'm going to do my best to marginalize my emotion and try to think practically about this.
Okay.
And rationally about this. But Joe Flacco is the best quarterback I've ever seen in a Browns jersey ever. He's now the second winningest quarterback in Browns Stadium in Browns history, putting him at 10-2.
That's a pretty good record. Who the hell is better than 10-2?
Baker Mayfield. But you don't like to talk about that, so.
I'm just saying, Baker Mayfield played for 4 years for the Browns. He should have more than 10.
Joe Flacco didn't play for the team.
Joe Flacco never played. He is the quarterback of the future.
He's 38, but he doesn't look 38.
No, he looks 48.
I did say last week he looks like Kevin Stefanski's dad, so.
This guy doesn't care about anything but football. And the thing is,
He
loves butt football.
So let me bang my wife real quick and go join the NFL.
But something, as we were going through the aggravation of seeing Kevin Stefanski try to be the smartest guy on the field, which he loves to do a couple times a game, that at one point I looked at my friend Steve, who's been with us, we've been kind of the last 2 survivors of the original group, and we were like, this is still a hell of a lot better than the 0-16 year. And there are even the craziest people going, if the Bears went out, they could make the playoffs at 9-8. So you start to hear some of that whispering. They're looking at this as their toughest game for the rest of their season. And I think we're looking at it, I think most of us, especially with the Browns backers, are kind of going 2 more wins.
That's why I don't read the show notes.
I specifically...
Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast, presented by Tappan Media and brought to you by Seaside Events as the official cruise event provider of the Cleveland Browns and organizer of the Browns Fan Cruise. I'm Kenny Thunder, back from sabbatical and ready to rock and roll with my merry band of thieves. Joined as always by the man with more bruises than Evel Knievel's knee, Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Look, over there. It's Hangman. No, it's Origami. Nay, it's the Big Bone Man. Back in the corner booth where he belongs. Bone Man, please tell us what you prefer, playing kids' paper games or playing with kids.
Playing paper games?
Question mark. There's a question mark on that.
Back to Red Hot. Two questions.
What's up?
On the next episode of the Burning River Sportscast, is there a special guest that you are looking forward to talking with this week?
Like this week?
Yeah, this show.
Nah.
No, there's not.
No.
There's no one.
No.
We don't have any guests on this week.
No, we don't have any Browns fan cruise guests this week.
I didn't say Browns fan cruise guests. I just guessed.
We can talk to the Browns backers. I like them. They're cool. Yeah.
And number two, where can all of our listeners find all the Burning River Sports guests, exclusive interviews with Browns backers from around the country and former Cleveland Browns players all season long in preparation for what is going to be a majestic and cathartic boat party next year?
You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, Good Pods, and so many more. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. That's where you can find the video version of these interviews.
Sure can.
As well as our video podcast, the only place you can find our video podcast. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle for all those, including YouTube, is at Burning River Sportscast. And we are on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, as well, with the handle at Burning River Pod. While you're at it, check out our merch, www.thetapinmedia.com/shop. We've got all kinds of stuff in the shop. We got the cruise line, the chub line, cold weather gear. I got a hoodie on today. It's pretty dope. That's all there. Make sure you check it out. You got a Hawaiian shirt. We have different vibes today.
It's not Hawaiian. It's Macho Man Randy Savage.
On a Hawaiian shirt.
Cream always rises to the top.
Yeah. But yeah, check out our gear. We're constantly adding stuff. It's the holiday season.
The
Your loved
cream
one something dope ass.
always rises
We understand.
to the top.
Thank you. But here's the deal. So for this week, the Browns came back home, and Joe Flacco and the boys have us all believing again. The feeling with Browns fans right now couldn't be further from the feeling we had after they concluded their two-game West Coast swing, going 0-2 in embarrassing fashion. We are now back in the driver's seat and looking to be on the fast track to a playoff berth. We will get to all of that and so much more as we got a solid show planned for everybody today. You want to know what we're talking about today, Kenny?
Please tell us.
All right, we got a Week 14 recap of that glorious home victory that felt oh so nice. Woo. An interview with the Chicagoland Browns backers. Due to scheduling conflicts, we will not have a Cleveland Browns Fan Cruise alumni interview this week, but we will be back to those and have another one for you next week.
But they can always go back and listen to the Josh Cribbs interview from last week.
Yeah, you can listen to Josh Cribbs from last week. That's still a really good one. That was fantastic. But then we will close things out this week with a Week 15 preview for the game against the Chicago Bears. So strap in and strap on, because this show might get a little freaky. Yeah, so let's start things out with the Burning River news story of the week.
Yes.
I'll give you a second to compose yourself. All right. So last week and the week before, actually, we talked about soccer. I know that's it's usually rare. You okay over there? It's usually rare here, but we did talk about soccer 2 weeks in a row because in the MLS, the Columbus Crew had the championship game this past Saturday against LAFC, and they won, as I understand.
Is that the Los Angeles Football Club?
Los Angeles Football Club, and they won that game in Columbus. And I think for this we need to go to Bone Man, our resident MLS correspondent.
All right.
For kind of a recap on this game. Bone, what do you got for us?
Okay, so in full disclosure, I was replacing a ceiling exhaust fan in my bathroom as I was watching this game. So
paying very close attention, so you could give a complete rundown of what happened.
I did see the first goal, and they scored quickly, the Crew, and then they scored quickly again. So it was 2-0 in the first half, and they held on to that lead throughout the game. Second half, I believe it was the leading scorer of LAFC scored a goal and made it 2-1. And in extra time, I think they had 7 minutes of extra time, so they added on to the end of the game.
Kenny gave me the look like, what the fuck is extra time?
Yeah,
I know what extra time is. It's extra time.
What is it?
It's the extra time that they get penalized for.
Well, it was like stoppage time.
It's a stoppage
Yeah, there
time,
you go.
yeah.
A stoppage time. Go ahead. Anyways, move on.
Yeah, so in the stoppage time, it was getting intense, and the other team didn't score. So the Columbus Crew won, and it was great, and it was fantastic. And D. Haslam went out there and accepted the trophy and then handed it off to the team. So
All right, now the Haslams just need to bring one back to
Columbus
Cleveland.
Crew, the champions.
So speaking of this game, and this was in Columbus, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
it was a home game.
I was driving back from Tennessee with my wife from our little vacation, and when the news broke that the Crew had won, I was like, oh no, we're about to drive through Columbus. And flashes of the 2016, just like
Oh, no.
the craziness of the Cavs being everybody out in the streets, all the roads were closed, and I was like, we might want to take a detour. We drove straight through Columbus. It was like everyone was asleep.
Well, one, it's not a Cleveland team winning a championship, and two, soccer, while it's growing in the U.S., still hasn't quite caught on. So
I was getting updates from the guy at work, as I've been calling him. He went to the
our
game.
correspondent.
Yeah, he went to the game, and he had great
would.
tickets, and he enjoyed it, and he said he had a great time. And he sent me some pretty cool videos. They had big parades and stuff, leading to the stadium. And
Maybe that'll be a well, I don't know when soccer actually starts, but like if
I
they
have no
start
idea.
before football season, that could be an off-season Burning River Sportscast thing to do, is go to a Columbus Crew game with guy from work.
We follow the Crew.
Yeah. I like it. And then in other news, we are still running our Burning River Sportscast holiday food drive right now in partnership with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank.
Sure.
So make sure you check our social medias for information on that. We are more than halfway to our goal, which I am proud to announce. Our goal is $1,000 this year. We started out kind of modest. We thought we could, we probably could have done more, but we wanted to give ourselves an achievable goal to start out here. We want to dip our toes a little bit. So
We don't like to lose.
yeah, and we can exceed it, and I can change the goal anytime I want and say, you guys gave us 1,000, let's go to 10,000.
Wow.
But anyways, we're a little bit more than halfway to our goal, so make sure you check out our socials for information. Also, the show notes will have a link that you can go straight to the donation page and give some money to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. So
Yeah, Greater Cleveland Food Bank, great people, do great work. Let's take care of them like they take care of the community. Is that everything you had for the Burning River News Story of the week?
that's it. That's what I got.
I had one thing I just wanted to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
Before we get into football and all the good stuff we're going to talk about today. I just have to say, what year is it?
2023.
2023. As I'm driving back from Tennessee this weekend, made a few stops at rest areas. At what point have we evolved past, F Joe Biden, F Trump, call Harry for a good time, written all over bathroom stalls?
Was it not, or is it? Are you saying it's still
everywhere, every stall that I was in? I was like, who A takes the time to do this, and B, why? And
I think the better question here is who takes the time to walk down the line of stalls and just check every bag. It's in every single one. What the hell?
I was in every one that I was in. I was just
fair.
where's the creativity?
Well, I'm just why are we still doing this?
I don't know, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. The call for a good time one still gets me every time. I see it. I'm like, got him.
I used to work with a guy, a good friend of mine. His name's Gil, and he actually delights in finding great quotes on the side of bathroom walls and porta potties. And I'll get random pictures and messages from him.
Okay, if you're
What
gonna
an odd relationship.
If you're
that he's,
gonna- If you're gonna be artistic about it and it's graffiti, you put something profound and thoughtful on the stall, I could almost get on board with that. But why does every stall say F Trump and F Joe Biden 1,400 times?
Those ones are the worst because it's just the most unoriginal. Now, call for a good time. That's a classic. But just F whoever. Come on.
Any moment, Seabass is going to come walking in.
At least come up with a good joke about Joe Biden or Donald Trump and put it on there so I can read it and be like, that was funny.
But that's not what's in there. It's just a bunch of scribbles about.
And I would even take something stupid like I don't know, Donald Trump wears a toupee. I accept that's better than F Donald Trump.
That would be more But who are these people and what are they doing? How long are they staying in stalls and they're just I'm writing this. I've never had the urge to write on a stall wall before.
I bet it's you.
And now I get today everybody has a smartphone. Like,
I bet it's you.
You're the guy. Don't you just look at your phone while you go?
You carry a Sharpie?
Yeah. You're the guy. I bet it's Kenny.
It wasn't me.
Oh, she's offended.
I just was like, this feels like something that was like 25 years ago, but it's still going on today.
If there's a publicly paid for restroom, we will deface it with random things. That's human nature.
Okay.
Destructo. Anyways, that'll take us to the Week 14 recap. All right, guys. So the Cleveland Browns bounced back in a big way and took care of Sunshine and the Jacksonville 5-2 to move to 8-5. So they're 30. Get it? The Jacksonville 5-2, 52. The 52 men on football. I don't know. I lost you guys.
You're really stretching there.
Yeah.
You should put that in a bathroom stall.
Yeah, this is much more original than F. Joe Biden. Or F. Donald Trump. Anyways, Browns won 31-27. Now have a 79% chance to make the playoffs.
Hell
with
yes.
Pittsburgh and all these other teams losing that needed to lose for us to have better chances. So it was a good week for the Browns. It's good. But as always, we will start with our opponents here, the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball. Trevor Lawrence, 28 of 50 for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He threw 3 interceptions, but he looked okay.
Yeah.
But I think our defense just played him pretty tough this week.
I think the ankle was clearly bothering him.
Absolutely. His mobility was mostly taken away. He couldn't run like he usually does.
But to be fair, like our team then took advantage of what was there. So that's what you're going to do. I mean, I don't know that C.J. Beathard would have fared any better in that game against our defense. So
no, he probably would have fared worse.
He probably gave them their best chance to win. And fortunately, our defense took care of business.
What'd you think about Sunshine?
I don't see a lot of Trevor Lawrence play just because they don't play a lot of Jaguars games up here. But I was kind of like, he got hurt last week. Like, I heard it was a pretty serious injury. I felt like he moved decent.
I think he still moved okay, but he will use his legs a lot more than he did in that game. And I'm not necessarily saying to take off and run. He is a very good pocket passer.
Well, yeah, and I think
but he used it to extend plays, and just like throw the ball.
But I think even throwing the ball, I think it bothered his accuracy because he wasn't able to really fully play.
True, the 28 out of 50 is not Trevor Lawrence numbers.
Yeah. No.
So there's that. But next up here, Travis Etienne, 14 carries, 35 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 receptions for 37 yards. He had an okay game. Not great, but not bad.
I was happy about the way that the Browns contained him, honestly.
I agree.
He's one of those guys that can go off.
I mean, he got his touchdown, but I mean, he's one of the playmakers. So when you get down there in the red zone, and they were down there a few times, I mean, he's one of the guys you're going to go to, so he's probably...
I'll give up the 1 touchdown during the game if you aren't controlling the clock in the running game all day long with your running back. So, no, very, very pleased with the way they contained him because he's easily a guy that could go off for 100,
and we've had a little trouble against the run lately, so it was nice to see that.
I think we struggle in general just against like top-tier athletes. I mean, I think it's hard to contain some of those guys, and he's certainly one of those that just can really pop off at any time, and then we did a nice job of keeping him in front of us.
Yep. And then on to the receivers here for Jacksonville. We'll start with Evan Ingram. He's probably the only guy that killed us this week.
We did not keep him in front of us.
No, 11 receptions, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You've actually said multiple times in the past, and I think I've actually reiterated it on a number of occasions. The Browns, for whatever reason, they have problems with tight ends.
Yeah,
like they just ones. For whatever reason, the tight ends, especially the athletic ones, they're able to kind of find open spaces in the defense and go off for a decent amount of yards usually.
I mean, Evan Ingram was one of those guys that like I consistently would pick up in fantasy football, and for the last few years has just kind of been not great. But like, man, he put it on the Browns.
Bone looks like he's got something to say.
No, he destroyed us. I don't know. He looked good. I was just zoned out, honestly. But, I mean,
you were staring right into my soul, and I was like, I think Bone has something to say on this. Nope, nothing.
I mean, I know you haven't gotten into the rest of the receivers, but I feel like they missed Christian Kirk quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I think they did. They definitely did. Next up on the receiver list, though, Calvin Ridley, 4 receptions for 53 yards, so contained him pretty well. Zay Jones, 5 receptions for 29 yards, kept him in front of him. And then finally, Parker Washington, whoever the hell that guy is, 2 receptions for 27 yards, so not too much damage, but he did get a touchdown against us, so I had to mention him.
I mean, look, this whole offense was primarily Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball around all day, and I think for better or worse, I mean, the Browns did what they needed to win. So
Yeah. And then on defense for the Jaguars, 1 sack, 3 turnovers forced. 3 turnovers isn't great for the Browns. Pretty good for their defense. But I mean, really, I don't think their defense even played particularly well. I think we just made some mistakes at different points in the game. So it is what it is. Special teams, Brandon McManus 3 for 3 for his extra points. So there's that. On the Cleveland Browns side of things, where it starts to get exciting because the Browns they won again, like I mentioned, and it's starting to feel pretty good.
8-5, baby.
8-5.
And we'll get to the injuries because there's 4 more of them to add this week, and that's a definite downer. But we'll get to that in the second half of the show. But we'll start with the offense for this week. Joe Flacco, 26 of 45 for 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And I don't want to talk too much about him here because we're going to talk more about him later. But Joe freaking Flacco, man. Just 300, like all I've been begging for all season long is like, I just want somebody to have a 300-yard game. We did it.
It's here.
Look,
Joe Flacco did it.
I'm going to do my best to marginalize my emotion and try to think practically about this.
Okay.
And rationally about this. Right. But Joe Flacco is the best quarterback I've ever seen in a Browns jersey ever. He's the best there is. He's the quarterback of the future.
I will say
he's the quarterback we've been waiting for. He's the quarterback savior of this team.
He's here.
At 38 years old, Joe Flacco is
he's the guy.
He's the future. The future.
Look, I know we haven't hit the hot take hotline yet. Here's the hot take. Browns win the Super Bowl. Joe Flacco's the MVP.
That's what I'm talking about.
Period. This is it. This is the first time I felt good about the Browns in a long time.
Even with the 4 injuries?
Don't care. This guy has changed everything for this team. He throws it all down the field. He's poised. He's calm. He's collected. He brings an energy and a precision to this team and this offense that I've never seen before. I know it's 2 games. I don't care. It's the best I've ever seen.
Well, on top of that, we've proved it throughout the year. We can literally beat and play with anybody in the NFL.
All we need was a quarterback.
And we've done it.
Yeah. And we didn't even need a quarterback, and now we have one.
The resume is there. So, I mean, what you're saying, I believe
we won games with P.J. Walker.
Exactly.
Well, and to Zach's point, and to Bone's point, that's the thing is that you look around the rest of this league. I mean, what team is the clear favorite to win this whole thing? Because you've got Kansas City goofing things up, Philadelphia's goofing things up. Like maybe Philadelphia is probably the strongest. Like
San Francisco, who's the hands, according to all the experts out there, the hands down best team in the league. The Browns handled with PJ Walker.
We beat them with the human turnover machine.
Yeah.
So I'm not even worried about San Francisco. F them.
F them all.
They're trash at this point. Look around this playoff picture on the other side. Where is there a team that this team cannot beat? Especially if Joe Flacco continues to play like this.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I look, save some of the Joe Flacco talk, because like I said, we will talk about him in more depth later on in the show.
He's the best quarterback I've ever seen in a Browns jersey, ever.
All right, so with that, we will move on to the running backs for this game. Jerome Ford, 12 carries, 51 yards, 5 receptions, 31 yards. Looked all right. I'll be honest, the longer the season goes on, the less impressed I am with Jerome Ford. I'm ready to...
That's fair.
I mean, I'm ready to for the experiment to be over, just to have our guy back in Nick Chubb next season, because not that I'm saying to end this season. I'm super excited about what the rest of this season holds, but I'm just so sick of them pushing Jerome Ford like he's going to be the next running back, and he's average at best.
It just feels like you could kind of replace him with anyone. Kind
of like they replaced Dearness Johnson with him.
Right.
Who Dearness Johnson put up decent numbers better at one point, and in my opinion, was better. Like Jerome Ford is nothing special. He's just okay.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying he's
not a starter.
He's not what they've built him up to be.
He's probably a below average starter. That's what he is.
Yeah. Next up, Kareem Hunt, 10 carries, 27 yards, and a touchdown. And look, I like the touchdown, the direct snap to Kareem Hunt, and he showed a lot of toughness on that run. But I've been saying it for a few weeks. I think what Kareem Hunt is now is he's a short yardage back. That's all he is.
I think Kareem is more than in that. In that, I think Kareem brings experience and leadership to that team. So I think,
and that's fair. But
have-
just his presence on the team is enough for that.
I mean, to be fit, like to your point, he's not a guy that's going to get 130 yards rushing anymore.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like
okay.
I think it's very clear after this season. Like in the last couple of years, you could argue like he was buried behind Nick Chubb and he didn't quite get a fair shake of like enough carries to really show what he could do. But I think that it's kind of, as this season has progressed, I can see why they didn't give him more carries now, because maybe he was and has been for a couple of years kind of past his prime as far as being explosive and being able to run for the 130 yards a game.
Yeah, I feel like he's so important to our team just for that one. You even think about that one player where he went airborne and went face first into the grass, and they were like brushing the huge turf chunk out of his face mask, but he got the first down.
Absolutely.
And then even on that touchdown where they went play action to him on the short yardage, I think it was the 4th down to David Bell maybe. And it was just like it was wide open because everybody was keyed in on Kareem Hunt, going on that short yardage play.
And that's exactly what he offers you.
And what I'm saying is not to take away from any of that. I think he is a huge key to the success of this team. I just think that
Father Time is caught up
for even like the people there, and that's why I say like I'm fine with Jerome Ford getting the majority of the carries still, because he's younger, he's faster, he's fresher, whatever. And Kareem Hunt he's just not the guy anymore. But we do need him on this team. He's a key part to the team.
What's frustrating about this running game right now
is that we don't use
Pierre Strong.
Strong.
His name always slips my mind. I don't know why.
Because he's a slippery fellow.
Yeah, there you go. He's really fast.
To your point, yes, that is frustrating because I would love to see him get some more touches because it looks explosive.
I think if he got 12 to 15 carries a game, he would
have
blow these numbers out of the water.
Agreed. I don't know what the deal is there. But what's frustrating is watching this team run like the zone plays that in the past, Nick Chubb eventually would cut them up.
Yeah.
These running backs both just take the zone all the way. They dance all the way to the sideline.
Yeah.
And then, because they just don't have that second gear.
Well,
Nick Chubb had that vision where he's like, as soon as he saw Butt turned his way, he was like, I'm in. And he'd cut off that.
Just plant his foot and straight up the field.
These guys just continue to stretch until they run out of field. And it's frustrating to watch.
It is really frustrating because it's just, they just dance nonstop. And you're like, could you please do something? And then I can't tell you at least 3 times a game, Jerome Ford gets tackled in the backfield. Like I will give that to Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt usually makes it back to the line of scrimmage because he's a little bit tougher than Jerome Ford. But I'm just sick. To your point, I'm sick of the dancing. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll move on to receivers here. We'll start with David Njoku. I know he's not technically a wideout; he's a tight end, but leading receiver in this one for the Browns. 6 receptions for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He can catch the ball again.
Him and Amari both figured it out this game, apparently. Like I said, they're talking after practice. They're like, maybe we'll start catching again. But yeah, I mean, he had a huge game, and I think most of his damage was done in the first half, which helped kind of give us a cushion and let us ride that to the end of the game. But he looked good. And he continues to just be a monster. Every time he touches the ball, he looks like he's on a whole different level physically than everybody else on the field.
I mean, the only difference is you look at his stat line versus like Evan Ingram's, and you're like, he's still just this far away. Evan Ingram had a similar stat line, but he had 5 more catches.
Yeah.
And Njoku, to your point, his presence was felt in the first half, but where did he go in the second half?
True.
He's just so close to being elite that it's frustrating because he's not.
Yeah. And then I mentioned Amari Cooper, 7 receptions for 77 yards in this one. Should probably play 7 in some sort of lottery this week.
Probably.
He's really rich. He doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to. It was good to see him catch the ball.
Yeah, that was nice. Elijah Moore, 3 receptions for 42 yards. So not that many catches, but a decent amount of yards for the number that he had. And then David Bell, the Venus flytrap, baby.
On 4th down.
Woo. Hell yes. 1 reception for 41 yards and 1 touchdown. And oh, what a glorious touchdown it was.
So before that happened, take me back to what your headspace was before they snapped that ball.
As far as, what do you mean? What was I thinking we should do?
Because it was one of those where, you could have very easily just, did hard count and you were going to punt out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought
they were barely across midfield.
I kind of thought maybe there was a little bit of hard count. It's Kevin Stefanski, so he likes to,
But it
give us the riskiest situation, and he's going to go for it.
Because it wasn't time yet to go for it on fourth down.
No. But I mean, it felt very on brand for Kevin Stefanski to go for it there. So I was pretty sure they were going for it, and not just doing the hard count thing. Yeah, I mean, gutsy call. I probably wouldn't have called a pass there. It wasn't 2 yard and a half that they needed or something.
Fourth and 3.
4th and 3. So they probably got the way they've been running the ball, averaging like 2.5 yards a carry. You probably got a pass there. So
yeah, but I'm thinking
to go to David Bell though.
I'm thinking like you put some floods out, some high and low.
It was the classic Kevin Stefanski call though. It was. Let's run this play action pass. It takes 10 years to develop, and then all of a sudden we're going to sneak this guy out the middle where nobody's expecting him, and bam!
Freaking Kareem Hunt just picks up the blitz.
If he would have missed or only been able to chip that guy,
Well, my other question is was David Bell the call, or was that a byproduct of having
Joe
Flacco's vision out there, where he was like, look, I don't care if this guy's a scrub or not. I'm throwing the ball just wide open.
We'll never know because Joe Flacco also is like a consummate professional. Like he's going to be like, it's a great call by my coach. That's what it is. Right. So we'll never know, but I'm willing to bet that it was not, the call was not to go to David Bell on fourth and 3. But, that's where we went, and it was for 41 yards and a touchdown, and it worked out and basically sealed the game. So, fantastic to see. We coined the Venus flytrap last year for him, and it hasn't really come to fruition. So it was a big moment for him, I think.
It's hard for him to drop balls when they don't throw them to him.
That's very, very true. You got to stop making me laugh so much because
RSV.
Yeah, I got a cold. So
good one.
Let's move on to the defense, though. As exciting as I wish I didn't have a cold, so I could be more excited about David Bell. But the defense here, I think they bounced back and had a solid day on defense. It wasn't as dominant as we're used to necessarily from earlier in the season, but they did hold them to under 300 yards. They had 4 sacks, 4 turnovers forced, and they took care of business. And they're dealing with 3 more injuries on the offensive or defensive side.
And to be fair, out of the teams that they've played in recent weeks, this team's a better offensive football team than a lot.
This was statistically, this is actually one of the better offensive football teams in the league this year. Right. So, really, really good effort to hold them to under 300 yards is pretty solid. So, and we'll start as far as players. We'll start like we always do with Myles Garrett. I think he looked much better this week than he did the last couple weeks. He still didn't get a sack. But he was a disruptor kind of throughout the game. He was kind of putting pressure on and getting back there and making some noise.
Get a sack, it just didn't count because it was in a 2-point conversion.
Well, yeah, true.
But that was a big play.
Yeah,
right, and that's my point. So he didn't get, I guess, in the stats, he didn't get a sack,
which is really stupid, by the way.
It is stupid.
I mean, you should get something for that. It's not like a play didn't happen.
I have a feeling
points on the line.
I have a feeling if Myles Garrett comes up like 1 sack short of their sack record, like they're gonna be like, we gotta change this.
I mean, how do you not give that? How do you not just put sack down for that? I mean,
it's a play.
It's a play during the game.
Like just because it's an untimed down doesn't mean it shouldn't count.
That's weird.
Yeah, I agree. But he was a disruptor throughout the game. He was constantly, at least in the backfield, causing havoc and getting Trevor Lawrence to step up and make a decision quicker than he wanted to. So
for sure.
Still don't think he's completely himself, but like I said, I think he's a lot closer to being in a space where he can do some damage again.
All I know is he better hurry and have a vintage Myles Garrett game here before the end of the season to bump his sack numbers back up.
Yeah, I agree.
If he's going to be defensive player,
he needs like another one of those 3-4 sack games, and hopefully it's this week against the Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
And then Obo Okoronkwo, Grant Delpit, Mo Hurst, and Za'Darius Smith all had a sack in this one. Those were our 4 sacks. All these guys except for one have now been put on IR.
It's not time for an injury report yet.
I know, but it's important to note that here that they had big games.
I don't know why I would do the injury report.
People still got to know. They got to get reminded. And we'll get to that in a minute in the second half of the show. JOK, 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, all over the place again. JOK's been looking good all season long and continued it in this game. And then finally, special teams here. I know Bone's excited. Dustin Hopkins, 1-for-1 field goal, 4-for-4 extra points. Where's the bone meter, Bone?
All right, well, the 50-yard or 55-yard field goal, right, to kind of seal the deal.
Yeah.
So it was clutch. It was clutch field goal. But we're definitely important due north. So
Due north.
Yeah.
Due north. Is that like full chub?
yeah, it's up
Beyond
there.
full chub?
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back. You're back like
he's back.
waistband
I'm back.
trick. It's hitting you in the face.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
I'm back.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
all right, he's full bone for Dustin Hopkins. Good to know. And we'll talk more about Dustin Hopkins later. We got our tracker going of where he's at points wise, so we'll talk about that in a second. Coaching here, Stefanski. Yes, I am returning him to Stefanski this week, and I'm getting a little sick from seesawing adventure we're having with Kevin Stefanski this season. He's Stefanski, he's Stefanik, he's Stefanski, he's Stefanik. Is it ridiculous that we give and take his name all willy-nilly like this? Sure. Are we going to keep doing it anyways? Absolutely. And he did well in this one, so he is Kevin Stefanski again. And there were some good play calls in this one. We already mentioned the fourth down call to
The Venus flytrap.
I'm dying. Sorry, guys. The fourth down call to David Bell. And there was some other plays throughout the game that just, I mean, it looked like innovative play calling that really got the defense on their heels. Some of those, the touchdown to David Njoku is just wide open, nobody around him.
Yeah.
I think another part of this is Joe Flacco makes Kevin Stefanski better.
Agreed. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen in a Browns uniform ever. But no, I mean, I thought the play calling was fine this week. I didn't have any issues with clock management. I thought, look, they went out and they beat a team that was a leader in their division. They were 8-4. That team moves to 9-4. I mean, they start becoming one of the top teams that people are talking about in the playoffs.
In the entire NFL, yeah.
In the NFL. So you go out there and you beat another team that's good. And then again, I'll keep saying it. It's like you've seen a lot of teams that are in this playoff hunt right now that have beat up on the poor man teams in the NFL. This Browns team has continued to overachieve by beating teams with winning records that are at the top of their division, that are at the top of power rankings.
We
during the
lose
season.
to the average teams and beat all the playoff
Played
teams.
down to the bad teams and lose to them, but yeah, I mean, it's just impressive what they've done. Impressive what they've done considering the amount of injuries and just the
We're on a four-string quarterback.
adversity that they've had. And it's, you go back and it almost feels like every other Browns season you've ever had because they've had so many quarterbacks play, and we're just used to that part of it. Like that part just is you're just numb to. But like this is the first year that they're winning with 4 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, just imagine before the season, like the over under on Browns quarterbacks for the season, and how much money you could have put on. Like, I bet they're playing 4, and people would have thought you were insane. And here we are. It never fails with Cleveland. So, I mean, yeah, he's overcome basically everything. So I can't really fault Kevin Stefanski anymore. He's been doing well, and he's Kevin Stefanski for a week.
I mean,
so.
you almost have to like give him a pass at this point too, because, and we'll get to the injury report later because it's getting really, really ridiculously bad out there. But you almost have to look at it and say, like, this team is 8-5 in December. With the amount of injuries,
you're
had
basically.
to key
I mean,
players.
it's almost it's harder to miss the playoffs now than it is to make the playoffs.
But even if they did miss the playoffs at this point, I don't even know that I can be like, is that a Kevin Stefanski problem?
No, with the amount of to your point, and like you said, we'll get to them. But the amount of injuries at this moment and the number of starters from the beginning of the season on IR. To me, if you just told me that the number of starters on IR right now, I'd say, oh, we're losing every game the rest of the season.
I mean, it sounds like the real problem here is whoever's in charge of our training staff because
Yeah,
guys,
we need to talk to those guys.
I mean, in a city where you have the Cleveland Clinic and you have university hospitals, how does this football team have the most soft tissue injuries in the game?
Every knee is blown. Every shoulder is broken.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't make sense at all. But we'll move on here. Jim Schwartz, the defense looked better this week. I will say this, and I mentioned that they didn't look as dominant this week. Jim Schwartz is still getting it done. The defense still looks good, but you could tell. I think the fact that they're not as dominant is because the injuries are starting to pile up. So we still have a solid defense, but they're not quite as dominant as they were because we're missing 7 starters.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got Ronnie Hickman and Keon Mitchell playing out there in your secondary, guys like Mike Ford and D'Anthony Bell, who was undrafted. look, they're playing the cards that they were dealt. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And I will say the good news is we have Flacco now, so the offense is finally giving the defense some help.
True.
And that may be it may even out now.
Greatest quarterback to ever live.
Whoa.
I can't wait for your statue.
Oh my God.
I'm going to build it.
I'm going to die now after you. What?
I'm going to build it myself.
And then Bubba Ventrone, special teams looked good in this one, so.
Look, I think the special teams actually has been, not just, obviously Hopkins has been a great story all year, but in this game, Bajorquez showed up huge.
Yeah.
Turning the field
What do you have,
around.
a 70? We talked about a 75-yard punt this week.
That was insane.
Wild.
He had a lot of punts down inside the 20. I mean, and their coverage has been pretty strong all year long. Look, I think it's one of those things that people go to sleep on because special teams is so boring now because of all the rule changes. But like that Baltimore game this week was decided on a punt return and an overtime. Like it's still you still got to play those downs and you got to make sure that you're containing and covering things up. And to his credit, we haven't had those big letdowns on special teams this year.
But Bajorquez, in case you're wondering, 8 punts, 412 yards, a 51.5 yard average. 3 inside the 20, a long of 72.
And you wanted to cut him because he was a bad holder.
I didn't say cut him. I said, is it his fault? It was a question. It was just a question.
Dustin Hopkins doesn't think so.
Nope, Dustin Hopkins.
Not his fault.
He's like, I'm the best kicker ever. So yeah, special teams doing well. Bubba Ventrone, that was a huge pickup in the offseason. I think it's safe to say now. Overall, though, total yards, Jacksonville 293, Cleveland 389. First downs, Jacksonville 20, Cleveland 16. That's one of the first times we've lost the first down battle. Time of possession, Jacksonville 28-11, Cleveland 31-49. Penalties, Jacksonville 7 for 40, Cleveland 8 for 75 yards. And then turnovers, Jacksonville 4 and Cleveland 3. So even with the 3 turnovers, we won the turnover battle this week.
Yeah.
It's always good.
And then obviously it has to be cleaned up. But as long as you get more than the other team.
Yeah, you usually win. So another Browns news here. The Browns are once again in the driver's seat. I mentioned 79% chance to make the playoffs as of now, which is a good sign. Like I said, at this point, it's harder to miss the playoffs than it is to make the playoffs.
They pretty much have to lose out.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the route.
I mean, if you win one game, you're going to be...
With tiebreakers at this point, you're probably still okay.
With tiebreakers and help, you're close.
Yeah.
You win 2 games, you're probably in for sure.
Yeah. And that's kind of... We talked about it last week. It was 3, and now it's 2. As the magic number. You win 10 games, you're in,
And
probably.
the strength of schedule that they have coming up here has got to be one of the lowest in the league.
Yeah.
In terms of what's left on their roster, on their schedule.
And then next up here, Grant Delpit signed a 3-year contract extension this week. Deserves it after the season he's had. It's just unfortunate that he went on IR the same week.
Well, yeah, because he was the leading
extension.
tackler of the Browns. I think he was up over 80 or 90 tackles for the year, so he was their leading tackler.
Which is super impressive for a safety.
Had just had a hell of a year. He looked really good in this Jim Shorts defense, doing some different things, being able to come in on some blitz packages and stuff. So, look, he looked like he's finally coming to his own, which is good. And to your point, deserving of a
The good news about his IR visit, though, is if they do get into the playoffs, he should be back for the first week of the playoffs.
True.
So, silver lining there. Sorry, I'm dying.
Yeah, right there, silver lining?
Yeah, it's rough. And then finally, Dustin, I mentioned we'll be back to him. Dustin Hopkins, up to 113 points scored this season for the Browns. A single-season franchise record for a kicker is 120 by Phil Dawson in 2007. Single-season franchise record for any player is 126 by Jim Brown in 1965. So we're going to continue tracking this for Bone Man over there. Boney Was that you hitting under the table there?
Yeah, he'll be breaking the record. He'll break Jim Brown's record.
I think he will too. He's getting close. And some of the other records that Hopkins broke this week: most field goals in this season by a Browns player. He is at 31 now. That broke Phil Dawson's record of 30 in 2008, and most 50-yard field goals in franchise history. Jesus.
No, it was not Jesus.
No, it wasn't Jesus. D-Hop has 8 right now in 2023, and Phil Dawson had 7 twice in 2011 and 2012. So he now holds the franchise record for most 50-yard field goals in this season. So he's basically the best kicker the Browns have ever had.
He's the best player the Browns have ever had.
Yeah, so, but that'll lead us to the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. Hoo, hoo.
Doesn't matter, man. You got to play tough people in the National Football League. You got to be ready, and we got to be the dogs that we are every time we step on there on Sunday and be ready to attack and don't stop until we're in that locker room.
All right, so 2 games with the Browns and 2 Dog of the Week awards. This week's Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week for the second week in a row is Joe Flacco. As we mentioned earlier, 26 of 45, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He got his 100th win this week, only the 19th quarterback in NFL history to do that. He now has more games with 250-plus passing yards and 2-plus touchdowns with the Browns, 2 than Deshaun Watson does with 1. He also has more of those games the last 2 weeks with 2 than the Steelers do since Big Ben retired with 0. Let's dig at Kenny Pickett in case anyone was wondering. Look, Joe Flacco looks really good. He looks fantastic.
He's the original Joe Cool of the AFC North. Not only that, I mean, those are some good things you just read off there, but the other thing is he's now the second winningest quarterback in Browns Stadium in Browns history, putting him at 10-2.
That's a pretty good record. Who the hell's better than 10-2?
Baker Mayfield. But you don't like to talk about that, so.
Oh, he's better. I get what you're saying. He has more wins
At Browns Stadium.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not impressive. He played here a long time. He should have more than 10 wins.
Of all of the quarterbacks who ever played here, ever, Joe Flacco's number 2, and Baker's number 1.
I'm just saying, like, Baker Mayfield played for 4 years for the Browns. He should have more than 10.
Joe Flacco didn't play for the team.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, no, like, even all the other quarterbacks we had, like, they play
it's kind of a sad stat.
I get what you're saying. It's a very sad stat, but I'm just saying he specifically came in at me for Baker Mayfield, and I'm saying, he should be.
Look, I'm just saying, all roads lead to Baker. How much different would this season look?
No, you just love Baker.
If you just had Baker's production this year.
We would have never stumbled upon Joe Flacco. So.
True, but you would probably be undefeated at this point.
I don't think you would. Not even close.
But regardless, the thing is, I'm okay with the trade now because we have Joe Flacco. And
all's right with the world when Joe Flacco is your quarterback.
He is the quarterback of the future.
He's 38, but he doesn't look 38.
No, he looks 48.
I did say last week he looks like Kevin Stefanski's dad. So
he looks 48.
Have you seen the Step Brothers meme that's going around where it's just like it's Joe Flacco with his hands on Kevin Stefanski's shoulders? Like, it's really good.
Little picture day.
Yeah, I mean, he looks fantastic. I think he just really wants to prove that he can still play, especially when he's in a good system. And he's definitely still got something.
Yeah, look, I mean, this
fantastic.
guy's won 100 games in the NFL, which to what you've just read was less than 20 men have ever done.
Yeah.
So this guy has some experience, some knowledge that a lot of people don't have. He has just a great nose for finding the open guy. The big question with Joe is how does he withstand to getting hit, and can this offensive line that is kind of beat up and battered a little bit, missing both tackles, how do they keep him upright through the end of the year? Now, I think Joe does a good job of getting rid of the ball quickly when he needs to. I think he does a good job of finding his dump off if he has to.
Dump off.
But there's going to be those times where he just takes an absolute blindside hit, and it's like, if he dies, he dies. Like,
yeah.
He's still pretty big dude.
He is still a big dude. But yeah, just to come out, like, here's my other thing that I'll say that is really kind of frustrating at this point is Joe Cool comes off his couch after not playing all year long, throwing
ready when he was not playing.
Right.
Like, even if you're not ready physically with, like, the we all know, like, game speed and whatever as far as conditioning is so much different than what you can simulate. But everything else should have been ready to go. Like,
But just even this year, we made that excuse for him all year, and he had a whole offseason with this team and this offense. This rust argument is bullshit at this point.
yeah, I'd agree.
It's absolute baloney. Joe Flacco looks like he's 10 years younger, 10 years faster, and 10 years stronger than Deshaun Watson, and he's been hanging around his living room in sweatpants for last 6 months.
Yep. One final thing on Joe Flacco here so that we don't devolve into a Deshaun Watson discussion, because that's not what this is. This is Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week, which is Joe Flacco. He was nominated for FedEx Air Player of the Week or whatever it's called this week. Didn't win. Brock Purdy beat him, but pretty impressive his second game with the Browns. So, but that'll lead us to the division roundup.
It's not like they're being careful with him. He's throwing the ball 30 times a game.
No, he's come out of nowhere, and he's definitely played himself into a good contract somewhere, or at least he's going to be like on the trade.
I said when he got to play, he was the number one quarterback in the country in high school.
Any chance they start looking at this like, oh, Joe Burrow's been hurt a lot? I mean, what do you guys think? Any
They
chance?
just signed him to a big contract, right?
They did.
This year?
They did, but somebody else would take on Joe Burrow's contract if they could have him.
Yeah, look, it's Joe Burrow's still got the body of work. I mean, this guy's only been around for a little bit, which is different than the Flacco situation because Flacco's been there. He's a Super Bowl winner. So we know what he can be. We know he could be the quarterback of the future.
Fair.
We don't know about Jake Browning just yet.
That's fair. I just wanted to ask a question because I mean Joe Burrow does have some injury. I mean he's been injured a number of times.
But I would say if I'm Cincinnati, I would do everything I could to sign this kid in the offseason and to a longer term deal.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to happen because somebody else out there is going to be like, this could be the next Brock Purdy. So
probably the Browns might sign him.
Yes. Get all the quarterbacks.
We'll get Danny DeVito and Brock Purdy.
Oh, man, what a QB room. But as I said, they beat the Colts this week. We were all wrong with that pick too. We picked Cincinnati to lose both, and they won both of them. So lots of losses there. The Steelers lost to the 2-win Patriots on Thursday Night Football this week, and two of us picked that game right, and Kenny was not one of them. So, Bone Man, good job. Mitch saw that coming.
Mitch Trubisky is so bad.
He is very bad. Kenny was wrong. Feels bad, Kenny. The Ravens beat the Rams in overtime this week, and once again, Bone, good job.
Aye.
Kenny, I don't know what you were thinking there, but
the game went to overtime. Act like this game was a blowout in the Ravens' favor.
Who won?
It was a punt return in overtime with 3 minutes left.
Who won?
Yeah, the Ravens won. Great.
Yeah.
Great. You love the Ravens. You love Lamar.
Hey, you like to see almost naked. That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we can put that on air. Wow.
I'll put what I want to put on air.
And then
it's frozen.
the Browns beat the Jaguars, and once again, Kenny was wrong, and Bone Man and I were right. Kenny's really bad at picking AFC North games. So for the AFC North, standings are as follows: Baltimore still in first place at 10-3, followed by Cleveland in second at 8-5, and then Pittsburgh and Cincinnati at 7-6 each, bringing up the rear. So just like Kenny. So for King of the North, an update there. And we'll talk more about this later. Bone Man and I, we were tied for first at 23-20, and Kenny is at 18-25 after going 0-5 this week. So feels bad. But after that, let's take a quick trip around the NFL. All right, so to start our trip around the NFL, we've talked all season long about Bill Belichick and whether or not he will stay or go at the end of the season. Well, news broke this week that the decision has been made and the Patriots will move on from Bill at the end of the season. He still has 1 year remaining on his contract, so there are reports out there that there may end up being a trade where they trade him to another team. That is how the Patriots got him in the first place. And in true Bill Belichick fashion, when asked about his future with New England this week, he said, "I'm getting ready for Kansas City." So, what do you guys think about this? End of an era.
Look, it's interesting. There's still quite a few games left on the schedule. I think this might be a wake-up call for Bill Belichick. I think if he goes, you know what, I'm going to put my heart and soul into this thing back again, and we just win out, then what?
I mean, you think it'll be a wake-up call for him? Because according to the reports, they made this decision like weeks ago.
Well, the season's been bad for weeks.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
I don't know that Bill Belichick ever thought that he would be in a position where he really was going to be asked to leave New England. But all good things come to an end. It's look. It's got to be hard for a guy that's one of the winningest coaches in the NFL to be asked to step aside. I would be surprised that if he does have that year left on his contract, if the Patriots didn't decide to try to trade him and get something.
Well, can you imagine like a fringe team, like one that they're like, you know what, we don't have a really good coach, or like the coach may be on the way out because they had high expectations. They're kind of mid right now.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they would trade a lot for him.
There's probably 30 franchises in the NFL that would like to have Bill Belichick be their coach.
Probably.
I mean, who's a better coach, Kevin Stefanski or Bill Belichick?
I mean, it's Bill Belichick. But the problem is, in Cleveland right now, you got a lot of people that would question that.
Well, yeah, they're not going to sign him now because
is
of
it
history,
a sure thing he goes to another team, or do you think he would just ride off into the sunset?
I don't think.
I think it's a sure thing he goes somewhere else. He's isn't he pretty close to like the all-time wins record?
Yeah, he's only 20 or so wins away from the all-time wins record in the NFL.
It's only a couple more years.
So I do think that he's got that big of an ego. I mean, I think that. He's kind of given up everything for football. You know, he broke up with his girlfriend this year, and there was all that drama at the beginning of the season that she was going to like leak information to other teams, just based on their pillow talk and stuff. Yeah. It's like, well, this guy doesn't care about anything but football. And the thing is, he loves butt football. But the funny thing is like we've actually had the guys that played for Belichick on our show this year, and they've said that same thing. They've said he's all about the game. I mean, he is 100% about the game. That's all he cares about is winning. I would have to believe that he ends up somewhere else next year.
Well, that kind of fire in you, I mean, it doesn't just die because your team goes 2-10 1 year. I mean, that's what they're at right now, or what they were before this week. So it doesn't just die in you. I mean, it's there still, and I'm sure especially if his team started winning again, to your point, I mean, that fire's got to rekindle, and you got to be there again.
I mean, if you coach 3 more seasons and you play 500 football, and then you can start right off into the sunset as the winningest coach all time.
Yeah. Does he pull a Tom Brady? He just goes somewhere else. He's like, I'm going to win one more Super Bowl real quick somewhere else.
Where would he go? Maybe Andy Reid retires if he wins another Super Bowl this year. He goes to Kansas City and coaches.
Was he sending us messages when he said, I'm just getting ready for Kansas City?
I liked your take on the Jets, him going to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, you go somewhere with a ready-made quarterback that's already an all-star.
Aaron Rodgers comes back healthy next year. They get rid of Robert Saleh, who's what did he say? He's keeping receipts.
Yeah, or maybe Robert Saleh says maybe he'll take a step back and be the defensive coordinator because Belichick's coming in.
I don't think any coach in the NFL is that would be willing to do that. I think their egos are too big.
Well, then he'd get fired.
Fair, I agree.
I mean, pretty much. Here's the thing about it. It's always a shock when these guys gets fired. But like every coach in the NFL gets hired to get fired.
Yeah, I mean. They're not even. Most of them get paid by the team years after they're not even there anymore. Right. So yeah, I agree. I got to move on.
Belichick to Buffalo.
That would be interesting too.
And that's actually plausible with how bad of a year Buffalo's having.
Yeah, McDermott's in the hot seat out there.
I like that, and imagine what he could do. I mean, Josh Allen's had his problems, throws lots of interceptions, but imagine what Bill Belichick could do with a Josh Allen and a good defense.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. But I do have to move on. Brock Purdy, we mentioned him just a second ago, Mr. Irrelevant. He is the current odds-on favorite to win NFL MVP. His annual salary, $934,000 roughly per year. Deshaun Watson, $46 million per year. Jacoby Brissett, $7.5 million this year. Meanwhile, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are having the worst seasons of their careers and making pretty close to that Deshaun Watson number. And Brock Purdy, as you mentioned earlier in the season, still driving like his old Ford Excursion or something, whatever the hell it is.
Toyota SUV or
something stupid.
Here's the thing.
No offense to anybody that drives a Toyota SUV, but
we talked about this earlier in the season about quarterbacks need to stop.
Oh yeah,
I mean, this is why. Is this Brock Purdy's opportunity now to say, "I want $50 million a year"?
I think this might be what makes quarterbacks stop. is think about it this year. You got Brock Purdy.
Yeah. You
got Tommy DeVito.
Right.
You got Joe Flacco.
Yep.
Like, I think you got Jake Browning.
Josh Dobbs,
which he kind of fell off, though, and he's trash. He got benched this week.
But it's been proven that they can win games without a top-tier quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that's probably not a great example in this stretch. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, there's quarterbacks out there that you don't have to pay $46 million a year that you could still win games with.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you had $40 million in cap room to sign other top-tier free agents.
Yeah.
And you had a quarterback that was making $10 to $15 million a year.
Yeah.
Your team would be unstoppable.
Yeah. So it's just a interesting thing that's the current favorite to win NFL MVP. I think I will throw this out there. I think it's trash that he's the odds-on favorite to win the NFL MVP. One, CJ Stroud should definitely be the favorite to win over Brock Purdy. They're going from they won 3 games last year. In case anyone forgets, they won 3 games last year, and they're in the playoff hunt right now with CJ Stroud. So
I like it.
Not to mention. Somebody else pointed it out on one of the Fox programs. When Fox did their promo for the big game, 49ers versus Eagles last week, who did they use on their promo? For the 49ers. They always use the best player from each team. Who did they use on the 49ers?
Kittle?
No.
Oh.
Christian McCaffrey. Kittle probably would have been the second choice, and then Brock Purdy. So Brock Purdy's not. I think it's just he's in a good system, and I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. Even I think he's a pretty good quarterback, but the fact that he's odds-on favorite to win NFL MVP is just asinine.
No, he's not terrible. Here's the thing too. This is going to upset a lot of people. I think the dark horse favorite to win the MVP is going to be Dak Prescott.
That's going to upset me. I hate you.
I know. So I think that team is peaking at the right time. And
yeah, but every time they play a decent team, they get shit on.
CeeDee Lamb is unbelievable. And I just his numbers are right up there with Brock Purdy, CJ, Sam Howell. Your favorite quarterback.
You love the Cowboys.
I don't love the Cowboys. I just am saying
you're advocating for them to be America's team again.
I'm saying they're playing really good football.
You love Dak Prescott,
and they just beat the Eagles 33-13. So I mean, the Eagles were kind of your odds-on favorite to be Super Bowl contender.
No, they're not. The 49ers are. But anyways,
well, the 49ers record isn't even as good as the Eagles.
It doesn't matter. They for 4 weeks now they've been the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. So,
but anyways,
they lost to the Browns and the PJs.
Yeah. You mentioned the Cowboys. It's a good segue. Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey made history this week. He hit field goals from 60, 59, 50, and 45 yards. He is 30 of 30 on the season. Yeah, you heard that right. And he is a rookie. He is literally everything that Cade York was supposed to be. Bone.
He's 30 for 30?
Yeah. He's 30 for 30.
Have you guys heard this?
Would you take him or Dustin Hopkins?
Shoot, probably Aubrey.
I didn't think I could get you to say it, and you said it.
The dude's a rookie, but have you heard a little bit of his story?
No. Tell us.
Yeah. He didn't play college football.
Right.
He was a soccer player.
Yep.
Who got training by an ex-NFL kicker, I believe, and coach, and walked onto a team.
That's pretty impressive.
And he's a freaking baller.
Didn't he play the USFL for a minute?
I think he went. Yeah, he went to like that. He started maybe in the Canadian League or USFL or whatever it is, and then worked his way onto an NFL team.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, dude. I mean, those numbers are insane.
The story I heard was his wife was like, they were watching a game in bed, and she's like, you could do that, couldn't you? And like, the next couple weeks, he just like got the ball rolling. He's like, yeah, I think I could do that.
It's like, let me bang my wife real quick and go join the NFL. But anyways, we'll move on from Brandon Aubrey. He's pretty impressive. That's just wild. I thought, especially with all the Cade York talk last year and coming into this season and what he was supposed to be.
I didn't realize he had 30 kicks already.
Brandon Aubrey is him when it comes to kickers.
To be fair, he gets to play half his games in the dome on turf.
That's true. You could argue what Dustin Hopkins has done this year is more impressive because he plays in Cleveland. But anyways, moving on, Minnesota defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 3-0 this week. Yeah, you heard that right. This game is probably the worst game ever played. Absolutely terrible. Lowest scoring game in 16 years and just yuck. Like, that's not the kind of football I want to watch.
I think both teams were like on their 9th quarterback. So
that's terrible. 3-0. Come on. Did you guys see DK Metcalf, though? That was the least exciting thing that happened as far as Minnesota and the Raiders. Did you guys see DK Metcalf almost beat up Fred Warner? Did you guys see it?
DK Metcalf.
I didn't see it.
I would not want to get into a fight with.
No, he made Fred Warner look tiny, and Fred Warner's like a middle linebacker.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Like, he literally grabbed him, and he probably had 30 pounds on Fred Warner. I was like, what in the world? DK Metcalf did get ejected.
Why was he so angry?
He was just blocking him. Like, it was pretty normal play, and then I don't know exactly. They got like tangled up, and DK Metcalf ended up on the ground. And while he was on the ground, Fred Warner came in and like hit him in the back.
Okay.
Like after the play, because he was mad at DK Metcalf getting physical with him during the play or whatever. And DK Metcalf stood up and was like, fuck no. Just went over to him, grabbed him by his face mask, and just wanted to he was ready. He's ready to go.
That's allowed on a podcast, though.
Yeah, what you said is not. But anyways, that was wild. And then next up, Kansas City Chiefs Travis Kelce made an absolutely ridiculous play and lateraled across the field to Kadarius Toney to win them the game this week. They thought.
But they lost.
Or so they thought. There was a flag on this play, and when the dust settled, it turned out that Kadarius Toney had lined up so far off sides that they didn't even know which team he was playing for. And it was called back. The Chiefs went on to lose, and Patrick Mahomes threw one of the most epic tantrums I've ever seen from an NFL player. Guys, what were your thoughts on this? Because there was a lot of talk about it right after the game and how the Chiefs got screwed, but I just want to know what you guys thought.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know it doesn't look like I used to play receiver, but I'll say this is like day one stuff as a wide receiver that you learn all the way back in high school and middle school is you're checking in with the ref where you are on the line of scrimmage. If you're off, you're telling the guy, hey, I'm off. If you're on, you're telling the guy, hey, I'm on. And
then they tell you, like, they'll tell you when you're on.
It's part of the line judge's responsibility to say.
And they will say to you, if you're was actually by far the most egregious.
Yeah.
Like his whole foot was like past the ball.
Well, and I always hate that too because like especially in a game setting where there are rules, a past mistake doesn't mean that a future mistake gets treated the same way. Like,
right.
Just because they missed it the first time doesn't mean that.
Well, and everybody was pointing to that being more of like, well, the refs are terrible because if they didn't call it then, they shouldn't have called it now. Well, it's terrible. Like, okay, well, maybe they didn't see it then, but they saw it now. And even if that's the case, like you're saying, if this is the only time all game they saw it, it's still a penalty regardless of what you think. So,
and maybe the refs are terrible. I would agree with you.
I would agree too.
Every week there are poor calls in the NFL, more so than in any other sport that you watch.
And speaking of that, so Bo, did you have any thoughts on this one specifically?
I was going to
before I
say,
move on?
little things win and lose you football games every week. And this was so, like Kenny said, such a standard day one thing that lost them the game. They called the penalty before the play happened. It just so happened to be an insane play. Like if that play won the game, that would go down in NFL history as like one of the most insane plays ever, right?
Yeah.
But say Travis Kelce tries to throw that lateral pass, gets tackled, and he gets fumbled or gets picked off, and that play gets redone, and the Bills are like, "What the hell?" You know, look what happened. You know, is Mahomes yelling and screaming at the ref after that? Hell no.
And to that point, so like Patrick Mahomes, that was his big thing after the game in his press conference. He's like, we've been robbed of greatness. Not only us, but the fans have been robbed of greatness. This was a great play by Travis Kelce, one of the great players in the NFL, and the refs robbed us of greatness. It's like, so you guys had a rules infraction, and we were robbed of greatness because the refs were wrong, even though they were right.
Robbed of greatness, bro. You were almost 9-4.
Yeah,
that's not greatness.
Yep.
It's above average.
Yeah, it was just insane. And bottom line, it was a penalty. Like, I think they called it right.
Yeah,
so
penalty's a penalty.
The fact that anybody's upset about it is kind of ridiculous to me.
I just think we've seen way more egregious, like,
the
DPI calls
you want to talk about bad calls? Yeah, don't talk to me about bad calls, Patrick Mahomes. Do we remember the playoffs, the Browns versus the Chiefs a couple years ago, and we scored a touchdown, and our guy got drilled in the head?
Yep.
Like, it was completely just helmet to helmet, drilled in the head, and he fumbled the ball through the end zone, and we got a touchback and took away our touchdown? Like, you want to talk about bad calls?
Yeah.
Like, that was probably the most blatant, obvious call I've ever seen, and it was a non-call, and it went against the Browns. So.
I'll say this, though. I do like the fact that Mahomes is speaking up about it because nobody will because they don't have the money to just pay fines.
Yeah. Well, Myles Garrett went out there this week, too, and also spoke up against
Look, yes or no a call.
I don't know.
And so, like, we have these guys sitting watching an iPad in the sun for 15 minutes trying to figure out whether the guy's foot is in or out of bounds. Call New York and let him watch it on HD TV.
Just to find out that his butt cheek was in bounds.
and let them go, yeah, this is already done. Like, why is there not just a rules official committee for every game in the NFL where...
They say there is, but there's, I mean, yeah,
that is
I'm with you.
live in real time making decisions.
There's not enough money to pay those guys, Kenny.
We don't have it. We don't have any money. Speaking of Roger Goodell, though, he also said this week that they need to eliminate the hip drop tackle. And I know that's a long discussion. I'm actually not going to get too far into that right now because we're running out of time in around the league, around the NFL. But yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Basically, Roger Goodell just said we want to eliminate tackling. So
I hate this man.
Yeah, I agree. And one final note, Sao Paulo is to host a regular season game in 2024, which is pretty cool. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Our boy BPG a few weeks back, big play Gary Barnage, he told us, he said Brazil is big on football. And here we are. They're going to get a game of their own, so I'm pretty excited.
He mentioned
about
a couple countries that it was really big in. So
Brazil was one of them.
Brazil was one of them.
So I'm pretty excited about this. But that'll conclude our trip around the NFL. Kenny, you want to take some time to talk to the Browns backers?
Yeah.
Something we started doing this year is our Browns backers interview series. What we wanted to do was highlight not only the fact that Browns backers are everywhere, lots and lots of Browns fans belong to these Browns backers group. They're all over the country. They show up rain or shine, no matter the Browns are doing good, bad, indifferent, whatever the case may be. They're there supporting the team. But we also want to highlight what most people may not know about the Browns backers. That's the fact that they participate in a lot of charitable events, a lot of community service. So we wanted to highlight those chapters, and we're kind of following the team as they make their way around the country this season during their schedule. So,
in fact, we are.
Yeah, we are following them. Yeah. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the next interview in the series.
powered by Riverside FM.
Okay, so this week for our Browns Backers interview series, we get to chat with Joseph from the Chicagoland Browns Backers. Joey! Can I call you Joey? Joe?
Joe's, yeah, Joey. The only people I allow to call me Joey are my immediate family and an old friend named Craig, who's an actor here in Chicago. And he was on an aircraft carrier, so he can do whatever he wants and call me whatever he wants to call me.
Fair. Well, we'll stick with Joe then. But thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We know time is valuable. But how are you today?
I'm good. I just finished. So I'm a college teacher. Just finished my last set of classes, and then spent some time with some friends at a little German mart just outside of Wrigley Field, and then for $5, you could actually go into Wrigley Field, and they decked it out for the holidays. I stood in center field for the first time. It was kind of cool.
That's pretty cool.
Nice. They do here in Cleveland. I don't know if you're familiar. They do like the what do they call that? The winter
toboggan chutes and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. They literally make toboggan chutes from like the top of the what are they? What's the word I'm looking for?
Like the stadium seating wall or something like that.
Yeah, it is the left field wall. It's there's a word I'm looking for. It's the stadium seating up there.
The left field wall.
It's the
like the bleachers.
Yeah, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. The bleacher seating. I couldn't think of it. But yeah, the bleacher seating gets turned into toboggan chutes, and you kind of end up down on the field. It's really cool. So
fun.
But no, so before we get started here, tell us a little bit about your guys' chapter.
Well, so I was asking if there's a little, if there is a camera, and there is, because I have a visual. And just to show you here, Browns Backers, look at that date of establishment.
Wow.
1987.
Hell yes.
If we are not the oldest chapter, we are one of the oldest. And yeah, I've been doing it since I was 8. Okay, we'll see if you believe that. Man, in those days, in the earliest days of the Browns Backers, before the days of direct TV, you had to go to a bar that had an actual satellite to you get the actual coordinates. Ooh. And try to tune it in. And some days it would be crystal clear. Some days it would be crazy snowy. Some days they were on the military feed. And those games were wild because you got to see the same commercials they run on bases. And holy smokes, they were a hoot. So yeah, we've been doing it since 87 was the year after the fumble, right? Or was that the year of the fumble? I forget. It was the year but we have been so we have persevered through thick and thin, and we are currently nestled in a lovely little neighborhood, Andersonville, Edgewater, where I live, a place called Burke's Public House.
Oh, nice.
On Broadway and Berwyn, I want to say. And we have a nice little our friend Chris Farrell, who watched games there, said, why don't you come over? Because we got to be a little itinerant after a certain point. And, we are no longer the biggest Chicago Browns club. That's the Chi-Town Dog Pound, and they're still in Wrigleyville. And that's okay, because their thing is they want to put you in the middle of the dog pound. Our thing is we throw a party every week. Yep. And so we have people come by, we hang out. We have always, like our other signatures, I think we were one of the first groups at halftime to do this little door prize giveaway. We always gave away and still do bottles of stadium mustard.
Oh, nice. A staple.
Which you still can't get in Chicago, so,
Hopefully you never can. Not for you guys, but, I mean, I wish you guys could get your stadium mustard, but for all those other Chicagoans, we don't want them to have it, so that's a Cleveland
thing. I still have siblings in Cleveland, so when I go, I always grab a couple bottles on the way home.
There you go. No, I mean, luckily, technology's come a long way, and you guys are able to watch crystal clear games every week now.
More or less.
Yeah. But how many members are you guys up to over there? I mean, I know you said the other one's a little bit bigger at this point, but I know you guys are kind of, from what I know, sizable as well.
Yeah, we've got a pretty sizable little group of about 25, 30 people. I think, when the Browns win consistently, there are going to be plenty of spaces and plenty of bars. I can rattle off a couple Cleveland bars in the area that do really well, and also show Buckeye games, and also show Cavs games, and also do the draft. I mean, I'll give a shout out to a place called Vaughn's Pub, where we will go for draft day parties, for example. They're not an official bar, but they're a Cleveland bar, an Ohio bar, and they're good people. And when Burke's isn't open, they're a good place to go as well. And nothing wrong with Chi-Town. Just a different vibe. They're going different crowd, different vibe.
Do you guys ever do any collaborations, anything in tandem with each other?
Not really. In some ways, they're just they've gotten to. We used to be that big back in the '90s, before art and all of that. Yeah. And so, some of our longer, like the folks that originated the club some of them are no longer with us. And so, it's about the games. It's about just hanging out, and and it's small enough. Somebody comes in like, "Hey, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?" And we get to compare notes, and we get having travelers come by. The place has some good burgers. They have Great Lakes on tap. Honestly, what more do you need?
Nice.
It's a great segue. So where are you from in Northeast Ohio, and when did you move out to Chicago?
So I grew up in Collinwood, 156.
Oh, nice.
Shout out. Yeah.
Nice. Cecil Shorts was from, I don't know if you know the name Cecil Shorts, but just retired now from the NFL, played a few years, went to Mount Union. He's from Collinwood, though.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I went to, I've been around long enough that I went to Villa Angela St. Joe's when it was just St. Joe's with Clark Kellogg and all the Golics and, all those. One of my dad's best friends, his son, Al Sinsich, was actually the first guy that went to Michigan and kind of created that pipeline. Eventually, we sent them Elvis Gerbach and Desmond Howard and all of that. But I came to Chicago in 1984, right around the same time as the Rick Sutcliffe trade with the then Indians, and I remember that. Just a very quick kind of fun sports story that I think y'all will appreciate. The first apartment I lived in Chicago was I lived on the third floor, and the place on the ground floor was this hot dog place called the Hot Dog Factory. And the owner of the hot dog factory was this gentleman by the name of Dino Skeptar, my friend, and he looked just like you. He sounds right down to the mustache and the glasses. And the reason I mention that is because, as fate would have it, on the second floor of that building was this quiet Jewish kid from New York who was learning to be a comedy writer at Second City, and his name was Robert Smigel. And so Smigel took Dino and helped to create the whole super fans phenomena of the Bears, the Bulls, that all came in small part from Dino, who is still with us. And it's great. And you talk to us. Yeah, I know a bunch of guys that look like that. And it's just kind of a fun. I just like telling that story.
Well, every single time the Bears get mentioned on this podcast, somebody throws out the Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
So,
yep.
The Bears.
with that we want to highlight. And so, with that being said, I mean, when you guys get together every week, is there any community service or charity work that you guys are involved with?
Yeah, so we're in a really kind of a very cool neighborhood. Andersonville specifically is a very prominent LGBTQ neighborhood. So last year we do like a 50-50 raffle every week, and so we designate a group. And there was a group called the Test Positive Action Network. They're all about making sure, HIV testing and such, and we raised money for them. We have a great local food bank, Care for Real, that we raise money and funding for. We have a fantastic little place called Felines and Canines where you can adopt dogs and cats, and they have a relationship with Pound in Alabama. And we do that. And so especially as we get into the holidays, we're certainly working with Care for Real. We're definitely working with Felines and Canines. And then this year, Chicago is one of those cities that have been getting a lot of immigrants kind of coming up by the busload from Texas. And so it's been a big issue of trying to find housing for them and temporary housing. So in our neighborhood, we have a National Guard armory, which is acting as a temporary shelter. I mean, just people in cots while we try to find housing for them. And so we have been doing a warm clothing drive for them since a lot of them don't come with a lot of warm clothes when they get to Chicago. And Chicago's been it's been a very gentle fall so far. So we are helping them with a warm clothing drive. We'll be doing that periodically. We're going to be raising some money for Care for Real. I don't know how they work in Cleveland, but in food banks, sometimes they get overloaded with canned goods, and sometimes they, you try to give them cash cards for grocery stores. So we just decided, something, let's just raise as much money as we can, cut them a check. They can buy what they need and disperse it where they need to. So we're lucky that in this neighborhood we have so many really local groups that we can work with, and we do.
That's really awesome. So are you able to fund all those different charities with just like 50-50 drawings during your weekly games and events, or do you guys do anything like outside of that to try and raise money or like merchandise sales?
We're working next year. Next year, we want to do a much broader sort of season long fundraising. We're talking with the owners of Burke's so that we can get the entire bar involved, because they have Bears games, but they'll put different TVs on, so other fans will get to come in. I mean, we've befriended a few Minnesota Vikings fans. Bears fans are actually generally pretty respectful of Browns fans. I think they see us as kindred spirits in a lot of different ways. The Test Positive Action Network is a group that Burke's raises money for throughout the year as well. So I know last year we did. We were hoping to do some Cavs playoffs games, but they didn't help us by bowing out in the first round as quickly as they did. Yeah. I think
they're off to kind of a rocky start this season too. So.
I'm watching them. They just so many injuries. They can't seem to build a lot of momentum yet.
We like to do that in Cleveland.
Yeah. It's a tradition. But but the Cavs are they're fun to root for. They're young enough that you can kind of still see where they're going to go. We can certainly, I imagine we'll probably do some Guardians games at White Sox Park, because that's going to be an easy park to get the tickets for this year. Cubs are a little trickier because it is the Cubs. And no, there actually isn't a lot of angst with the Cubs in the 2016 World Series. I know I gave them a pass because LeBron won in 2016
That did make it easier.
Okay, you got yours. If it happens again, sorry, it's like all Cleveland this year. But again, the Guardians do what they do, and you just kind of roll with it. And it's baseball, so you just kind of kick back. And
You mentioned the 2016 World Series. We just like to harp on the rain delay conspiracy here.
oh God, yeah.
We had all the momentum, and all of a sudden we got called rain delay, even though it lasted like 5 minutes. So,
Well, I mean, Tito Francona damn near won that series with 2 decent pitchers, spit, and duct tape. I mean,
Well, that's what would have made it so
Wow.
special because coming
I
off the
know.
Cavs victory, I mean, to have that run that they did and just the way that Game 7 played out, man, it would have been nice to have. But to your point,
Well,
at least we got one.
at least we got one, and the way, and it's fun because I can taunt Bulls fans by saying I will put that 2016 title above both three-peats. I think when you look at what LeBron had to do, the team he had to beat, the 3-1 deficit, and then what they did in response by bringing in Kevin Durant, I think that tops either of those three-peats. And I will defend that hill, man.
there's that meme that goes around every so often that it's like you'll tell your kids that they needed these 4 guys just to beat this one guy, and they won't believe you. And that's exactly what it was. It was kind of when they brought in Durant the following offseason, I thought that was just it was the ultimate sign of like respect for LeBron. Like, okay, you are legitimately that good that this is the team we need to put together to beat you.
And they were already coming off 73-9 or whatever, whatever the
73
ridiculous record was. So.
And the year before, it was like Kyrie Irving was in for half a game. Kevin Love was out.
Yeah,
I mean, the year before that, they were both hurt, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like we had to win
so
with
different.
Vinny Deladova. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, there we go. No, but kind of back to your guys' things and what you have going on here. Are there any events that you guys are hosting or looking forward to, maybe in the off season?
I think we'll definitely. We always do a draft day of some sort, which again is weird because there hasn't really been a draft day for the last 2 years, and won't be this year.
Boring those first couple rounds.
But something as we were going through the aggravation of seeing Kevin Stefanski try to be the smartest guy on the field, which he loves to do a couple times a game. That at one point I looked at my friend Steve, who's been with us, we've been kind of the last 2 survivors of the original group, and we were like, this is still a hell of a lot better than the 0-16 year. Like,
that's true.
We'll still take this any damn day. So we'll do something on the draft. I think we've got to start thinking of something special to do for the playoffs. Although I have read that there's a chance it could be the Peacock game, and if it is, some of the bars can't show Peacock. Like they get one playoff
the Peacock game.
Yeah, they get one exclusive playoff.
I feel like Cleveland fans might riot if we get the Peacock game because
especially if we play Jacksonville. I mean, we won, so we kept the bottles in our hips this game, but I think I don't know. If I had to put money on it, I'd say Cleveland's not getting the Peacock game because of all the fan bases. I think ours riots if everybody can't watch the game. So and now that Joe Flacco is turning into a story, I think there are going to be a lot of people that want to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, and I mean, it's kind of a good segue because we're bleeding into the football side of things.
Real quick, I was going to ask though, do you have anybody coming in? I guess in town this week for the game? Like, do you have anybody traveling?
We never know, which is part of the beauty of it. We are always listed, and we always get a couple calls of, "Hey, can we get some over here?" Especially because, like, again, you go to Wrigley Field. You've got the Chris Kindle Mart and Winterfest, and it's still crazy busy. And so we're like, yeah, we got parking. Come on up here. It'll be a lot more relaxed. So we just kind of, and again, one of our favorite things, like, where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? And so we never know. We don't have celebrities coming in.
Just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, we just keep the door open. Now this week will be interesting because it's obviously going to be a local game, so they'll be on locally. There will, being Christmas, we'll see how many people are kind of so crazy that they're trying to find that they may not want to take a few hours, but we will certainly say it's always more fun to watch with a lot of friends. It just is.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, and so now on to the football side of things here. I mean, you mentioned playing the Jaguars last week, and yes, we did keep the bottles on our hips.
Holstered.
Yeah, we did not throw them. So what are your thoughts on the game against the Jaguars and how they looked?
It was a game I was worried about, especially coming off those 2 losses on the West Coast. I was certainly kind of hoping Trevor Lawrence wasn't going to play, but he did. I continue to be amazed and happy at what Jim Schwartz can do. Because again, Flacco is just. I think we're all going, wow, that guy still has some juice. And I was just reading that they're just injuries upon injuries and upon injuries, and so listening to Chicago sports talk radio trying to build up some hopes for the Bears. It's kind of interesting. I just think getting that lead, the field goal was a highlight. And I think the last few minutes, again, like my friend Steve was like, it's going to come down to the onside kick. It's going to come down to the onside kick. It's going to come down to the onside kick, which it did. And again, we all hold our breaths because we've seen onside kicks go very badly, both against Jackson, both with Joe Flacco and against the Bears. I remember going to a Bears-Browns game, and watching an onside kick work right in front of me. I think the Bears scored 10 points to get in overtime and then won.
I was going to say, was it the Tim Couch game? That's almost 20 years ago, where they scored three possessions. They scored directly in a row, and then onside kick, and that was just a disaster.
And the onside kick literally spun directly over the whoever the Brown was. I've never seen an onside kick do that in my life.
Before or since.
Yeah, of course. But at the end, we last week we won. We relaxed. Steve and I had our victory shots, which is how we like to end each victory.
What is the victory shot?
He does Jameson. I do Old Granddad.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not what I hear very often.
Granddad's good. Is it the original? Is it bottled in bond, or is it 114?
Oh, it's the standard stuff. I don't want to go. I am a bourbon drinker, but I normally will do Jack just because I only want to do one shot, and that's it. But Granddad that one is pretty smooth. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I'm a Maker's Mark guy myself, personally. That's my go-to.
Yep. Yeah, they have a lot of different things. I could talk bourbon all day. I'm a huge bourbon fan, but
we could do that on a different podcast. I'd love
to. We need to. Bourbon Lovers podcast. We'll set that up later. But
I love it. Yay!
No, so obviously they were able to pull out the win against the Jaguars. Jim Schwartz continues to do good things, but how do you think they've looked so far this season? And can you tell us how your chapter's dealing with injury after 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 injury?
I think the first step is, as long as Myles Garrett's on the field, there is hope.
Yeah.
We were thinking, is he doing anything? But again, we have enough astute watchers to go, no, he's getting chipped every time. He's getting double teamed every time. But he's making Lawrence go faster. He's not letting him plant. That injury didn't help. So as long as you've got Myles Garrett on the field, I think there's always hope. And the amazing thing is just watching all of the quarterbacks. Our group, probably like a lot of other groups, are kind of conflicted about Deshaun. The fact that that one game he finally came through and he did it. Now that we know without all those injuries, was it the Steelers game? Was it? Yeah. Was it the Steelers or the Ravens game? Whichever one. I think we're very happy PJ Watson is third string. He was the one that caused most of our angst.
Yeah, we call PJ Walker the human turnover.
Oh, God. Yeah. And so now, again, we're watching Flacco, and suddenly they can throw the ball, and suddenly people are getting open. And Njoku finally is starting to earn some money, and there was a David Bell sighting.
Yes, there was.
What to look for, and they kept finding those guys. And I think you're seeing the same thing, because it's funny listening to the Bears fans going, "Oh, we've got all these injuries, and they're down to their third and fourth stringers." And I'm like, "We've been." And we're 8-5. Where have you come on, so?
I can't stand every week hearing different teams talk about their injuries. I'm like, if you only knew. Injuries look like. And then we were dealt 4 more this week, so
Yeah.
So
They all hurt. I mean, it's like every time it can't be that guy. It can't be that guy. Oh, not that guy.
I know. We have become big DeJuan Jones fans at the Chicagoland Browns backers.
Sure.
He's kind of he was our adopted guy. My friend Steve picked him out, and he told him, when he drafted him, watch out for this guy. He's going to eventually replace Jedrick Willis, and he was. I hope he better be first team all rookie.
Yeah, I think he's probably solidified
he played really well this year.
Yeah,
I'm worried about this injury though, because a guy that big, you just worry about sustainability until your lower half, because he was so phenomenal. But man, you just hope he can build some longevity there.
Yep.
Well, again, he's got the right coaching staff to do that, because they seem to find guy. Like the guy that replaced Posick was the guy that was supposed to be there in the first place.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And then he got hurt. Posick comes in and.
Yeah, the whole center saga last year was insane. We had our starter that we let go right before the season started, and then the guy that replaced him ended up being Pro Bowl caliber, and then he got hurt, and then the next guy was Pro Bowl caliber. It was insane.
And Pojek was very quietly putting together a really strong campaign this year, where he was, by all accounts, with PFF grades and things, second overall.
And it doesn't sound like he's as hurt as a few other guys. Because they just
hopefully he might be able to come back.
It reminds me of when Mayfield was in the playoff game, and he was like, "Oh, I just met my new left tackle. Hey, how you doing?"
Blake Hance.
Yeah.
He might have been a parking garage.
Northwestern guy. I went to Northwestern, so go represent.
But Joe, let's look to this week now. So what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously you guys get to hear about the Chicago Bears being local for you guys. What are your thoughts on the Week 15 matchup with the Bears? And what are they saying locally about the Bears?
Well, the thing about the Bears has been about Justin Fields. Is he the guy? I think those of us that saw him at Ohio State feel like he was given a really bad hand with so much of the coaching that he's gotten. They're trying to make him a pocket passer, and it's not what he does best. And a lot of questions about the coaching staff. And the thing is, in the back of everybody's mind is they have Carolina's first-round draft pick, which is going to be the first pick. So everything is all about, will Justin Fields show them enough that they don't use that pick on Caleb Williams?
Yeah. And I mean, it is a good question, because to your point, all of us that got to watch him nonstop because we're Ohio State fans, Justin Fields is a phenomenal quarterback. And not even necessarily making all the plays with his legs. He's really good when he's able to roll out, kind of get on the move, and then throw from outside the pocket. And it seems like they want nothing to do with that for whatever reason.
They've gotten him so nervous that his accuracy has just went down the toilet. Also, he had no offensive line at all.
Yeah, I know Kenny's been saying since the beginning of the season, like, he's got to get away from Chicago.
Well, yeah,
it's the only chance for him.
It was a tough place for him to land just because there was so much. It's a lot like Browns quarterbacks that come in over the last 20 years, right? It's not a safe place to land, between the coaching and some of the front office stuff that was going on there. It just was not an ideal situation for a young quarterback. And I feel for the kid because he's such a tremendous athlete. Obviously, Ryan said, like, we watched a ton of him at Ohio State. Really liked what we saw there, and we're proud to have him as a Buckeye.
Agreed.
But yeah, I don't know what the future holds for that kid. I just hope that he lands somewhere that is a better fit at some point for him.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though, is they've won 2 in a row. First time since Matt Eberflus has been coach. Their offensive line, it's going to be the 4th week in a row the same 5 guys have started, which has never happened. The defense, the Bears are usually known for the defense. They made them a trade for Montez Sweat. He's looking halfway decent. They do have Jaquan Brisker, who is a really good defensive back, tackles everybody. He's going to be a fun challenge. They're looking at it, and there are even the craziest people going, if the Bears went out, they could make the playoffs at 9-8. So you start to hear some of that whispering. They're looking at this as their toughest game for the rest of their season. And I think we're looking at it I think most of us, especially with the Browns backers, are kind of going 2 more wins. 2 more wins, and with the teams that we've got, I think most of us are thinking the Texans game was going to be the toughest, but that depends on whether TJ Stroud plays or not.
Yep.
But they should be able to beat the Jets. I still think they should beat the Bengals, even though it's, Browning mania. Okay, whatever. And I think most of us were looking at this Bears team game as the winnable one. Winnable
and I'd agree with that. I mean, as far as us looking at the schedule, that's one of the ones we've pointed out.
Certainly, several weeks ago, I think we felt a lot better about it than we do. To your point, they've played better in recent weeks. I think Montez Sweat has been a shot in the arm for that defense for sure.
But the Browns are going to have the better, and they're already thinking, Joe Flacco's a statue. He's just going to be standing there, and they're going to be able to come after him. And so far the first couple weeks. He has, aside from that one hit in L.A., he's only gotten a couple hits. He's been doing fine. They've been running enough to keep everybody honest. Flacco knows where David Njoku is all the time, and he can still throw downfield.
Well, and I think what you just mentioned, I think, is the biggest reason why he hasn't been sacked very often is because I think especially as he learns the offense, he's like, where's my tight end? Because anytime I'm in trouble, I'm going right to him, and I'm not going to stand here and take a bunch of hits from everybody.
To that point, he's hit Harrison Bryant a couple times too.
That's what I mean. Doesn't matter who the tight end is. Where's my tight end so that I have that security blanket if people were bearing down on me.
And you still see the Browns with direct snaps to wide receivers. There were a couple packages with DTR. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple more of those. Again, knowing Stefanski, though, we fear for the option to DTR and the pass to Flacco. Like that's
the old negative 20
double reverse.
Yeah.
Well, that was the PJ Walker specialty.
Yeah. We harp on it, though. We say at least once a week we run some sort of reverse or some sort of trick play that has a difficulty level of about 100 out of 10, and we end up with negative 20 yards. Or
go that way. That's the way you're supposed to go.
Or if it goes well, we get 9 yards out of it, which is that's a bad risk reward if you ask me. But no, but with all this being said, obviously, the Bears have won a couple in a row. Oh, the dog! There it is.
The dog.
There it is.
What's the dog's name?
His name is Fagin. I named my pets after 70s rock figures, so it's named after Donald Fagen from Steely Dan.
Nice. But no, with the Bears winning a few games in a row. The Browns bouncing back against the Jaguars. What are your thoughts? Like, what do you think is going to happen in this game? And obviously, we're going to ask you, what is your score prediction for the Browns versus the Bears?
Man, I haven't done a score prediction in a long time. I do expect the Browns to win. I do think playing at home is a huge factor. I think it'll be fun for Fields because I think he remembers those 7 sacks, and he's going to try to pull that off. I'm going to say 24-14. And I've been saying this because I'm trying to will it to happen. The one thing Myles Garrett is yet to do is score off a turnover. So I'm going to keep saying Myles Garrett will score off a turnover, and I will keep saying it until he does.
Do you just keep putting money on it?
I do keep, like, whenever he's back there and we're going strip sack, it's like he can get an interception too. He can return the fumble too. He hasn't done it yet.
Yep. No, I like the 24-14. I think that's honestly probably where a lot of people's heads are at right now, where, maybe there's some fight, but overall the Browns should be the better team and they should win this game. So I think that's kind of where a lot of people's heads are at.
Yeah, they're going to be better coached. I still trust their offensive line. I mean, until Flacco proves that they can actually hit him before he throws, he's smart enough to let it go. And, you are a little nervous about Justin Fields running. So my guess but they don't have anybody else. So my guess is JOK is his shadow.
Yeah.
And Schwartz is just going to go, you don't let him out of your sight, period. That's your guy the entire game.
Yep. I would agree. I would definitely agree. Now, I will say before we get going here, I do want to say that we are sponsored by who, Kenny?
Seaside Events.
As the official cruise event provider of the Cleveland Browns and organizer of the Browns Fan Cruise. And so with that in mind, they did run a competition for Browns backers. However, that it has closed. If they haven't announced the winners yet, they will be doing that soon. But I do want to say we, Burning River Sportscast, will be emceeing several events aboard the ship, and there will be 17 alumni joining the cruise that the fans will kind of get to mingle with like they're normal people. You see them on the ship, you have a conversation with them. So for anybody that hasn't booked yet, please go ahead and check that out. And if you want to have a lot of fun in March of 2024, come set sail with us.
And there's still a promotional deal going right now, too, where you get some cash back on your ticket if you book now. So definitely get those cabins booked.
And so, Joe, is there anything else that you would want to say to Cleveland fans? I mean, you're a transplant yourself, so is there anything you want to say to Cleveland fans that maybe have moved away from Northeast Ohio or missing their fellow Browns fans and are potentially thinking about joining a Browns backers chapter out there?
Well, I think, like I said, we have been around a long time. We have a lot of history. We have a lot of fun. We are laid back. My attitude is always, we're throwing a party. We give away silly prizes at the half. We do the 50-50. Like I say, we're building towards something a little grander as we get into next year, 24. But we are a fun group. We are a laid back group. If you got some kids, bring some kids over. We are clean. We don't work blue. And Berks is a really comfortable place. Nice food. You can, again, it's a parkable neighborhood in Chicago, which is not always the case. And like I say, come have some fun. We'll be, like I said, we'd probably do a Cavs game here and there, maybe a Guardians game here and there. Even NCAAs, I actually went to undergrad at Cleveland State, and like the Cleveland State women made the NCAAs and Northwestern men made the NCAA. So it was the first time in my life both schools were in the show. And that was a blast, and we'll do some watch parties there. And Chicago's a great town. It's no Cleveland, but Chicago's a great town. You will have a good time. We would love to have you. Like I say, we will tip a Great Lakes Christmas Ale on tap, and y'all can do a victory shot with us.
There you go. And one final thing we'd like to mention is the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. So, Kenny, tell them about the Hot Take Hotline.
Absolutely. So we do have a voicemail box set up that we call the Hot Take Hotline here at the Burning River Sportscast. And each week we invite fans to call in before, during, after the game. Let us know your thoughts. If you're happy, you're angry, you're sad, whatever it may be, any time of the week. Let us know. Call in with your hot takes. If you have things you need to say, things you want to tell us about Kevin Stefanski's play calling or the personnel groupings or how how the defense is playing. Let us know. We want to hear it, and then we take the best takes and we put them on our show each week and react to them. So just something that's a little bit fun to do, and if it's something you want to make your group a prize to, maybe we get some phone calls in from the Chicago area this week, and that number is 330-227-8080. We'll put it on the screen here so that when this releases, people know. But that is the number 2, the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Yep. And so, Joe, it has been great having you.
Can I ask Joe 2 real quick?
You got another question?
Just before
Let's
we go.
keep it going.
Well, we're having such a good time with Joe. Joe, I want to ask you 2 more questions. Joe, you mentioned you were in education. What do you teach?
I teach freshman composition and public speaking.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Perfect. And then being that you are a Chicago guy now, a Cleveland/Chicago guy, do you have a favorite pizza place out in Chicago?
Ooh.
It all depends on what kind of pizza. If you are talking about what the tourists considered Chicago-style pizza, which is the stuffed pizza, I'm actually a fan of Lou Malnati's. But if you think of what actual Chicagoans think of Chicago pizza, which is called tavern cut, which is thin pizza cut in squares, because that used to be, they used to bring it out at bars so you could grab a couple and then you get thirsty and you'd buy another couple beers. My favorite thin crust tavern pizza is at a place called Pat's. Pat's Pizza.
Nice. Where's Pat's at? Is that downtown?
Pat's Pizza is on Lincoln near Diversey.
Okay.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, to check that out next time we're in town. But
Absolutely.
Just a big pizza guy. So I'm always curious to hear from the guys that are like in New York, Chicago, because there's so many different answers, and it's like I just want to find the best pizza.
It is. It's one of the greater debates you have in Chicago, and there are sometimes bad pizza, but usually there are no losers.
Yep,
for sure.
I'd agree with that. Pizza's delicious. But once again, Joe, it's been great having you. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and we hope to one day make it out to Chicago, maybe get some pizza, and join you guys for a Browns game.
We would love to have you. We'll roll out the welcome mat or the banner, as I'm going to unfurl one more time, just because.
There we go.
That is quite the banner.
It's like the original Browns backers logo too, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah. Hell yes.
Well, that's sort of that there, right there.
Yep.
See that?
Very cool.
And, because we actually have the occasional debate over brownie. I'm a fan, but not everybody is. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm a big fan.
Haters.
I am too.
Yeah,
it's unique, It's one of those things that's uniquely Cleveland.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But hey, Joe, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. This is the Chicagoland Browns backers, and you're listening to the Burning River Sportscast. Go Browns! Woof, 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 woof.
Good talking to Joe, huh?
Joe's a dog, and you could.
He did not like when I called him Joey, though.
No, he put the kibosh on that.
He said,
That was kind of one of those moments where you're like, oh,
all right, Joe it is.
Joe it is.
Right.
But no,
be respectful.
I had a great conversation with Joe. Sounds like they have a lot of good.
Their backers group, although the numbers aren't quite there, it doesn't sound like like they used to. It sounds like that backers group has a lot of history.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the banner
been there since before I was born.
It had 87 on it from the original founding of the group. It's cool to have a club that's around that long, if nothing else.
I bet those guys have seen a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just listen to him talk about, like, the original games with the satellite where they had to go through. And it's like, I mean, it
that's funny stuff. Like, I don't even know what that's like because that's not my lifetime that
the only
that's
thing
happened.
That I can kind of compare that to is, like, remember when you used to have to plug in a video game system and it had to be on, like, channel 4 or channel 3 and you had to have, like, the
just right.
antenna
you had to blow
switch.
yeah.
It's like you didn't have, like, inputs on TV like you do today.
Nope.
So, yeah, I mean, just kind of wild to think about, like, what the lengths people went through to watch the Cleveland Browns in the city of Chicago 35 years ago.
Pretty wild. And the fact that these, like, to that point that they started all over the nation, all over the world. There's other ones that started in the late 80s as well. And so, they're not just doing that in Chicago. They're trying to mess with satellites all over the nation, trying to point them in the right direction to get the Cleveland Browns game. It's just crazy to think about. But no, we loved having him on. It was a good time. Good interview there. But we will move on to the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline. Did I put you to sleep there?
No, it was already coming out.
Oh, all right. Well, don't forget to call and leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. Remember, these are hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. 330-227-8080.
330-227-8080.
330-227-8080.
Bone forgot the number again.
He also fell asleep.
330-227-8080. Call now. Operators are...
Never standing by.
Nobody's there.
Nobody's there. It's just an answer machine.
Nobody's there.
Let's make some money, guys. It's time for a quick revenue break, and then we'll get back here and preview the Week 15 matchup against the Bears.
The Bears.
Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, an award-winning craft distillery located in Akron, Ohio. Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth, award-winning premium vodka, a small-batch silver rum made from the highest-grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery, now available locally and in 44 states. Visit towpath-distillery.com to place your order online or find an OHLQ retailer near you. Towpath Distillery, handcrafted, award-winning, small-batch, local, and family-owned. All Cleveland Coffee. All Cleveland Coffee is a coffee company that launched earlier this year in Cleveland, as the name would suggest. Founded by Browns legend and Hall of Famer Joe Thomas and 6-time heavyweight champion of the world in the UFC, Stipe Miocic, along with a team of several other brilliant Clevelanders. All Cleveland Coffee is on a mission to give 1 million meals back to the community through an official partnership with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. How will they do this, you ask? Well, with every bag purchased, 3 meals get donated to the food bank. It's such an awesome idea, and a bunch of great individuals were involved with it, and the result is the best coffee in Cleveland, bar none. It comes in 3 roasts, light, medium, and dark. Dark is what Joe Thomas enjoys every morning. Me and my co-host here, Kenny, we're medium roast guys. Right, Kenny?
Swag.
All Cleveland Coffee. Visit all-cleveland.com today to order your coffee and donate a few meals in the process. All Cleveland Coffee. Ethically sourced, premium roasted, and 3 meals donated for every bag purchased.
All right, so usually before we get into the Week 15 preview, or the next week's preview, we like to do our Cleveland Browns fan cruise alumni interviews. This week we don't have one. We will get back into those next week, though. So let's just get right into it. Let's do it. Week 15 preview. Okay, gentlemen, this week we have the Bears. So, Kenny, you want to start us off with whatever previews of matchup previews or opposition research you have?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things.
Two things. There's 2 things in this. Only 2 things.
One is in our interview with our Chicagoland Browns backer pointed this out that there's just a lot of emphasis on Justin Fields and what his role is going to be on this team going forward. Is he their franchise quarterback of the future? So I think every opportunity he has out right now is kind of like, I'm putting this on tape for either this coaching staff or the next to see whether or not I'm going to be here next year. Obviously, they have a really interesting draft pick scenario, given that they have the Carolina Panthers' first pick in the draft, which is likely going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. So he's kind of playing for all the marbles right now for himself.
Which I think is wild. Like, if you can't see that I get it. We've talked about, like, I want Justin Fields just because we like Ohio State and we want Ohio State players to play well in the NFL. We want Justin Fields to go somewhere else so he can have more success. But it's wild to me that the Bears are even considering moving on from him. Like, if you can't see that he's got a ton of talent, if you just put the right players around him, you're blind.
Yeah, I mean, and so he's a huge wild card because he has all the talent in the world. He can make every throw, and he can burn you with his feet. So it's just a matter of, can they contain him? I think in terms of like a true matchup, it's probably got to be JOK spying this guy all day long, because you can't just let him go because he will definitely hurt you.
And I'll jump in on that one because you stole my thunder a little bit there.
Oh, sorry.
Your thunder.
Thunder.
But that was one of my matchups as well, as JOK versus Justin Fields. He's definitely going to be spying him, at least for a good part of the day. So, as you just mentioned, Fields can kill you at any given time with his legs. And Joseph had some good points there as far as JOK following him around and what's going to happen. I think he's spot on. So just obviously we got to see if JOK can at least just keep him in check. Like, you don't have to shut him down completely, because if the only thing they're getting yards and points on is Justin Fields' legs, they're probably not scoring enough to beat you anyways.
What I think will be interesting,
but just hold him down a little bit,
is the chess game between those two and how Jim Schwartz reacts to it, because I can see Jim Schwartz pulling out some weird shadow spy where everybody knows
it looks
JOK,
like he's following him, and then somebody comes
and all of a
out
sudden
on a
Miles
blitz out of
Garrett
nowhere and
breaks his face off. So that'll be fun to watch for sure. But the other thing just to keep in mind is, in terms of overall rankings for this team this year, I have their offensive passing at 28. Against the defense. Sorry, their defensive passing is 28th, and they are third against the run. So when you think about how this Browns team has won games this year, it's typically been run the ball, play great defense. Now you have Joe Flacco as a part of this whole thing. This sets up well for a game where he could have a ton of yards.
This is wild. This is like the first time ever that we have the exact same two matchups. Like that's what I got. Joe Flacco versus the Bears secondary.
That's why I don't read the show notes.
I specifically put in here, we got Joe Flacco now, and the dude can chuck it. And the Bears defense is 28th against the pass and third against the rush. Another dream matchup for Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, he'll love that because he won't have to only run.
We're going to throw it 75 times.
He'll only have to run the ball 18 times, and then we can throw it 55 times, and it'll be great. So yeah, I mean, I think those are your
synced up, linked up, bro.
You're deciding matchups in the game for sure.
Yeah, no, I think those are definitely easily the top two matchups to watch.
If I had to pick a third component of this game that's important, it's just the health of the Browns, because
we got to make it through without another big injury.
So many injuries.
I mean, legitimately, I know we keep saying it, and we'll continue to say it, because somehow this team keeps pulling through and finding players that can fill the void and at least keep us playing good football. But at some point, it's finally going to break, and you have one too many injuries that you just can't keep up anymore. So we need to make it through this game healthy.
For sure.
As a team, though, the Bears have a 5-8 record. The team is not very good, to be honest with you. They've had a couple good games this season, but overall they're not a very good team. They are the worst team in the league in red zone defense. They are 29th on defense against when it's third down for the conversion percentage. So the Browns should be just fine, especially with Joe Flacco and his savvy veteran presence out there. This should be one of the two wins that the Browns need to make the playoffs.
What if Joe Flacco gets hurt, like just gets Theismann?
Seriously, you just said, what if Joe Flacco gets Joe Theismann?
You shouldn't say that.
I knocked on wood.
You shouldn't say that.
But like, can this Browns team keep winning despite all the injuries?
I could not hate you any more than I do right at this moment. I literally couldn't. But with that, why don't you just give them the injury report, since there's going to be 15 more people added onto it after that bullshit. Like, does anybody else out there feel it with us? I mean, you guys, there's got to be people that are listening. They're just like, son of a bitch, this cold. It just will not go away. I've been dealing with it for weeks, man.
Okay. I don't even know where that came from. I wasn't listening to the whole show.
Who's on the injury report?
Chicago Bears this week lost Yannick Ngakoue, placed on injured reserve.
That's impressive pronunciation you just did
on Wednesday. So he's one of their best defensive linemen. Equanimous St. Brown, wide receiver.
He's done it again.
Did not participate in Wednesday practices, so he's still got a bum pectoral. That's a receiver. Jaquan Brisker, safety, is questionable. DJ Moore missed practice this week with an ankle injury.
If DJ Moore can't play, that's a big bonus for the Browns.
He's listed as questionable at this point. Man, they actually are relatively healthy outside of that. Their next injury update is August 31st. Joe Reed, wide receiver, injured reserve.
Damn.
That's impressive.
It's got to feel good.
On the other side of things,
just run off our IR list before you start anything.
I don't have it organized like that, so I'm going to do it this way. Jerome Ford, questionable with the wrist. Limited at practice this week. Ogbo Okunrankwo, doubtful. Season likely over.
Not doubtful. He's officially on IR.
Still shows doubtful right now, but he is, according to Kevin Stefanski, likely headed to IR. Grant Delpit, injured reserve, signed a big contract. Groin, I think he had a groin
short-term
surgery.
IR, luckily, so he's back for the playoffs, but out for the next 4 games.
I think he had groin surgery today or yesterday to repair the issue there. So he was moved to the injured reserve. Kareem Hunt, questionable. Expect him to play this week. He also has a groin injury, but
he's been questionable for several weeks in a row.
Doesn't sound serious. He sounds like the questionable, like, I'm a NFL veteran.
I need some rest at practice, and here's why.
DeJuan Jones moved to injured reserve this week.
Kareem Hunt's literally, like you say, he's questionable with a hamstring. Like he literally has a hamstring. That's why he's questionable.
Yeah.
he physically has a hamstring. He's questionable.
He has a groin.
Yeah.
DeJuan Jones moved to injured reserve. That's a big that's a big bummer there. Big bummer there. Mo Hurst.
That was bad. That felt real bad. He's been the biggest surprise of the season, biggest steal of the draft, and we mentioned it earlier. He's probably going to be on the all-rookie team and out for the season.
Yeah, Mo Hurst was one of the offseason signings that came in. He is out with pectoral, also placed on injured reserve. He's been a bright spot a couple places. He's knocked down a number of balls this year.
Yep.
So that's another big loss on your defensive front. Jedrick Wills underwent season-ending arthroscopic surgery yesterday on Tuesday. So he's on the IR. Denzel Ward still listed as questionable. Jordan Elliott's defensive tackle, concussion during the game on Sunday against the Jaguars, so he'll be in the protocol. Ethan Pochik, questionable, exited the Jaguars game with a shoulder injury. And Juan Thornhill did not play against Jacksonville because he was ruled out before the game with a calf injury during pregame activities. So that's the list, along with guys like Rodney McLeod, Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, all the rest.
So basically everybody's injured. The worst environment imaginable. That's all I had to say. Worst environment imaginable.
Scariest environment imaginable.
Got it.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Browns, but
we
somehow,
keep winning games.
Some way this team
we got Joey C
has persevered.
We got Joey C on our team, or Joey F, I guess. C. There's 2 C's in his last name. I don't know what I was saying, but Joe Flacco's on our team. Joe Flaccid Flacco is on our team, and he's winning games, and he's giving us full chub. So, I mean, we're gonna win because Joe Flacco's on the team.
He's the best quarterback I've ever seen.
If you want to win, put Joe Flacco in.
This team, again, is going to go to the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco.
Book it. Heard it here first. You heard it here from the guy that's the worst at picking AFC North games, which we'll get to in just a second.
I don't care.
Book it. Player to watch real quick before we get to the King of the North. I'll start this week. We talked about him just a minute ago. JOK. JOK is who we really need to pay attention to because he is going to be spying Justin Fields pretty much the entire game. Should be a good matchup. JOK is a freak athlete just like Justin Fields. So we'll see what happens here. Kenny, who you got?
I like to make up my own rules to this part of the show usually.
I like it. You going with a Bears player this week?
I'm going to go with anyone that's healthy on the Browns team. No.
any player that is healthy.
No, I'm going to go with I am going to change the rules though. I'm going to go with both Jerron Christian and James Hudson, the tackles.
Nice.
Because I think this
Bone approves of your rule change. He just chimes in with a nice. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, they still have a pretty good defensive front there with DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, and Montez Sweat has been a really big shot in the arm for those guys after he came in off the trade this year. So I think basically this team now wins or loses based on can we keep Joe Flacco upright and healthy and let him deliver the ball on time. So those outside tackles on both sides right now, I think, are your biggest question marks on offense. They need to play well to keep Joe Flacco clean. I think if Joe Flacco gets sacked less than 2 times in this game, they win going away.
Yep, fair. Bone, who you got?
I'm going to go Amari Cooper. I mean, I feel like the first 7-8 games of the season, he had 100 yards every game. It was like he was unstoppable.
Hasn't had that in a while.
With 3 different quarterbacks, and I want to see him back on that. He had a couple drops the last couple games.
Statistically, he's playing with the best quarterback he's played with all year.
Exactly. So I want to see him getting the ball downfield and making some big plays.
I like it. And that'll take us to the King of the North. All right, so in case anyone is living under a rock and doesn't know by now, this is our year-long AFC North Pick'em competition. At the end of the season, whoever comes in last place gets punished. In the offseason this past year, Kenny had a gross of eggs thrown at him by fans in the Muni lot before a preseason game. How'd it feel, Kenny?
It was terrible, to be honest.
Top 5 worst experience of your life?
Definitely top 5, probably top 3.
Nice, very nice. I also froze those eggs. In case anyone was wondering, so I made it even worse.
It's a real dick.
Yeah. And we're still working out the punishment for this year. Guys, off the top of your heads, any more suggestions? We'll start with Bone. You got something?
Yeah, like a dark, long pipe, you got to crawl through. It's kind of scary and creepy and claustrophobic.
Different substances in the bottom, maybe, that you just have to crawl through?
Yeah, just worst fear.
Nice.
Getting stuck in a cave or something.
How are we going to set this up?
I don't know.
Kenny, what do you got?
I was thinking about the loser has to go to some public event with a high-powered vibrating anal plug. That is controlled by the winner.
Oh no!
The winners. They just turn it on and off.
Just got to keep your cool.
Up and down at will.
I am out on this one. I officially if that's what we choose is, I'm out.
You have to if you refuse the punishment, you have to leave the show. You have to quit.
Then I'm quitting the show, 100%. But since you're so far behind, I guess we could make the punishment this year. Anyways, we're still working that out. We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. But let's get into things. First things first, I want to remind everyone that I am still the reigning, defended, undisputed, undefeated King of the North. How's it feel, guys? Bone, you shouldn't feel any type of way. Kenny, how's it feel?
I hate you more every week you say that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Kenny is where he belongs. He's in last place. I've been talking to Bone here. We have added him. He's our trusty board op. We've added him this year to the competition, and he is tied with me in first place right now. And Kenny just sucks. So let's remind everybody of the current records before we pick. Me and Bone are at 23-20, and Kenny is at 18-25. So he's doing really well. So let's get into this week's matchups. We'll start with the Steelers. They head to Indy to play the Colts. I'll start this one. I'm going to go with the Colts in this. I think the Steelers, as weird as it sounds, without Kenny Pickett for some reason are worse. I would have thought they would have been a better team without Kenny Pickett, but for some reason they're worse, and they've kind of fallen off a cliff here. I think they are going to hit the 500 number this week and be 7-7. I got the Colts in this one. Kenny, who you got?
I'm going Steelers. I think the Colts lost
another loss for
a
you.
lot this week with Taylor being out, and he'll be out a couple more weeks with the surgery he had on his hand. I think that was probably the biggest turning point in the game for the Colts and the Bengals game was just that the Colts couldn't run the ball. So that, and I mean, obviously Browning showed up and played out, but I think if the Colts could have ran the ball, you keep him off the field.
It's literally going to be battle of Mitch Trubisky and Gardner Minshew. I like Gardner Minshew in that.
I mean, I do too, but I also can't pick the same as you basically for the rest of the year, or I'll lose just automatically.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite part of the season where Kenny starts racking up losses.
I just have to rationalize ways that these teams can beat the team.
Well, there's a wrench thrown at this year because now Bone's in it, so you gotta somehow catch up to just one of us.
Right, but if I just could pick all the teams that you guys pick, then I just won't catch up.
Bone, who you got?
I am going Colts. Simply because
Feels bad, Kenny.
It's a home game. They're fighting for their playoff lives, which I guess Pittsburgh is too, but they suck.
I think Pittsburgh's outlook is much bleaker.
Sure.
Because at least the Colts kind of knew early on, like we're playing with Gardner Minshew the rest of the way. So
I guess I didn't even know Jonathan Taylor was out. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that part sucks. But what's his name has played well for him in relief.
Zach Moss.
Yeah, he had a really big games early in the year. But anyways, Kenny's gonna have another loss, so it doesn't matter. Next up, the Bengals travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Kenny, who do you got?
Got to pick the Bengals here. I just need to win. I think Browning's playing out of his mind, and this Vikings team is.
He was the best high school quarterback in the nation for a while.
This Vikings team is on the downslide.
Yeah, Bone, who you got?
Bengals.
Okay, I'll keep it short and sweet. I got the Bengals as well. I think they're just the better team right now. After our boy in Minnesota got benched at quarterback, I mean, were they on like their fourth quarterback this year too? So third quarterback, and their third or fourth quarterback is not Joe Flacco. So
True.
So I like the Bengals in this one for all the reasons that you guys said and more. So we all got the Bengals. So the Ravens go down to Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football for a matchup with the Jaguars. Bone, who you got?
I'm going to go Ravens. Sorry for the long go. But yeah, Lamar and company I think are playing really well right now.
10-3.
They're just winning games. So I know it's down in Jacksonville, but a little vacation for them. Going
it's
down
not a hard
Florida.
place to play.
Yeah, feeling good. Maybe jump in the pool. Yeah, and win a football game.
Kenny, who you got?
I'm going Baltimore as well. I think they're just playing really good football right now. And we just beat the Jaguars, so transitive property.
Fair. I'm actually going to go with the Jaguars in this one. I think the Ravens, they've had a couple close games of late. And I just... There's something about the Ravens, and I know people will probably kill me for this, but they just... There's something about them that feels fake almost. Obviously they're 10-3. I think that's what their record is now, what they're up to. They're 10-3. And they're playing good football overall throughout the season. But they just don't pass the eye test to me. Like when I watch them, nothing jumps out as like, man, this team is really, really good at this. They're just pretty okay at everything.
I think they're a really good regular season team.
And I agree with that. And but even with that being said, I think the Jaguars are also a pretty solid team this year. I think Trevor Lawrence has another week to get healthy from that ankle sprain. And I think the Jaguars are going to get them. I think it'll be another really close game. Probably come down to a field goal or something like that at the end of the game. I like the Jaguars. And then finally, the Browns host the Chicago Bears this week. So with that, let's see. We'll start with we're gonna start with Kenny.
I'm also gonna say next year we're gonna implement a new rule.
What's the rule?
Which is the pick of the Browns score. The closest,
counts for bonus points.
The closest score
gets a bonus point.
Gets a bonus point.
I like that, but it can't start this year. So
yeah, thank you.
Right now, it's the score doesn't matter, but we tell you anyways. Who you got?
Look, Joe Flacco is the best quarterback that the Browns have ever had. The Browns win this game easily. Let's go 38-14.
Did you just say 38?
Yeah.
Holy shit, this is going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, they're going to shoot all over them.
Nice, I like that. Bone, who you got?
Browns 34-10.
Jesus Christ!
Crikey.
Oh, you got to pull that up from Monty Python. Add that to the list this week.
Oh, I thought Steve Irwin was here.
No, it was Monty Python when the rabbit attacks.
Makes sense.
Anyways, 34-10, 38-14. I thought I was calling a blowout with. I got the Browns as well, 27-13. But you guys really shit all over my numbers. So we all got the Browns in this. So we'll see what happens. But that'll do it for King of the North. Let me remind you to call the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Yeah, call it.
Yeah, don't forget to call the Hot Take Hotline and leave your hot takes on the Hot Take Hotline. That's the Hot Take Hotline. Remember, these are hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes. We want hot takes.
All the hot takes. All the hot takes.
330-227-8080.
Hot take 330-227-8080. Hot take
330-227-8080.
330-227-8080. Call now. Operators are
never standing by.
There's no one there.
See answer machine. Leave a message and we'll put it on air. And be sure to check out our gear, www.thetapandmedia.com/shop. Hit show specific, hit Burning River Sportscast, and you'll find all the best shit that you can buy anybody for Christmas. So that'll do it for us. Kenny, what can we expect next week?
What can we expect next week? Will be another great week. We have the recap of the game against the Jaguars, previewing the Browns Week 16 Christmas Eve matchup with the Houston Texans, an interview with another Browns backers chapter, the Space City Dog Pound, and we will get back on track with our Browns alumni interviews. Joining us on the Browns Fan Cruise in March of 2024, Phil Taylor. Big thanks today. Glad to be back in the studio. Big thanks to Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Big thanks to Big Bone Man running the board, and to the Chicagoland Browns backers for spending some time with us this afternoon. Hope you all enjoyed it.
Hell yes. And don't forget to check us out on social media. Cut you off because I think you ran out of things to say.
Yeah, you're good.
Don't forget to check us out on social media. Tappin Media is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Tappin Media. And Burning River Sportscast, this podcast is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on X at Burning River Pod. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. I'm talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podcast, Castro, Good Pods, and so many more. And you know what it takes us to, Kenny?
Facts for days. Facts for days. Got some facts here.
Hit me.
Number one.
Hit me with the facts, yeah.
Honey is the tastiest of all the insect vomits that we have tried.
True.
So far.
I do love bee vomit. So far. I like the so far.
Number two.
You know, everybody says when a fly lands on you, it instantly throws up. Like, why can't we harness that?
It doesn't taste good.
Oh, who knew?
It tastes like bee spit.
I guess.
Fly spit.
Fly spit. That's weird that fly spit tastes like bee spit.
Exactly.
And bee spit tastes good, so if fly spit tastes like bee spit, then that would taste good as well.
Look, do you know of any other insect vomits that taste good?
Nope.
Number two. Let's go back to the AFC North here.
Okay.
I'll finish out with a little bit of football. Mike Tomlin is officially 170, 97, and 2 with one Super Bowl win. Bill Cowher finished his career 161 wins, 99 losses, and 1 tie with 1 Super Bowl win.
Wow.
So to all you
That's
Yinzers that want to claim that Mike Tomlin sucks, that's fine. But I better not hear you talk about the golden days of Coach Cowher either. Clowns.
Sons of bitches. Damn Steelers suck. Steelers suck.
They're the worst.
Their fans suck.
Their fans suck. They suck. Yinzers.
Pittsburgh is the
damn Yinzers. I'm gonna get fired from my job. It's all based out of Pennsylvania.
Doesn't matter. They know they suck.
You suck.
That's why they wear yellow and black.
Damn
they
Yinzers.
Number 3. Look, we all know the lore and the numbers that at one time the sun never set on the British Empire.
Yeah.
Covering a massive 13.7 million square miles, including 23% of the world's population, at the time was equivalent to over 412 million people.
To the millions.
Millions. But did you know that the most common national celebration on Earth, shared by over 60 countries on an annual basis, is the celebration of independence from the British, meaning that roughly every 6 days, somewhere on the planet, they are celebrating their departure from British colonial rule.
We did it too. Good job, guys.
F the Brits.
Yeah,
F the
Brits are
Brits.
assholes.
Yeah, a bunch of dicks.
Serious dicks. For number 4 bonus fact today, more of a news brief than anything. But since we're talking about American independence and others, Elon Musk, champion of social media free speech, has reactivated Alex Jones' X account after being banned for the previous 5 years. I don't give a shit about Alex Jones, but I will defend his right to talk about gay frogs if that's what he's into.
Fair. I accept. So I'm not really. I don't care about Alex Jones either, but he does make a good soundbite.
Makes a great soundbite. Yeah. And don't just be a part of the problem, be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires.
Burning River Sportscast! Burning River! I like that, like a motorcycle.
Sounds cool when you do it.
Burning River Sportscast!
Burning River Sportscast. Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River.
Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River Sportscast!
Look, I got it.
What do you got? Oh, she's so scared.
I got our
Mascot?
Kaya.
resident mascot here. You guys can meet Kaya.
There she is.
She's scared.
What a cute little pie.
Such a sweet little pup.
Burning Rivers.
Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River Sportscast. Good night, Cleveland.
Good night.
Browns fan cruise and the Burning River Sportscast. What better combination could you possibly think of?
Motorboat? You play the motorboat? You motorboat son of a bitch. You old sailor, you.
You know what I was thinking during that interview?
What? What were you thinking? Nothing, because you don't have thoughts because you're a brainless idiot?
Wow.
My name is Uhtred, son of Uhtred.
By the way, I want my foreskin back. We got Joey C.
Has persevered.
We got Joey C on our team, or Joey F, I guess.
Joey F.
C. There's 2 C's in his last name. I don't know what I was saying, but Joe Flacco's on our team. Joe Flaccid Flacco is on our team, and he's winning games, and he's giving us full chub. So
The weather outside is weather.
the other one, the finger eating food fingers.
Yes.
Ejaculate all over my body and my genitals.
Yes.
Oh my God! My house is full of shit! He's shit everywhere!
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
All I do is win, no matter what. And some of the other records that Hopkins broke this week: most field goals in a season by a Browns player. He is at 31 now. That broke Phil Dawson's record of 30 in 2008. And most 50-yard field goals in franchise history. Jesus.
No, it was not Jesus. It
wasn't Jesus.
D-Hop.
D-Hop has 8 right now.
They called my house on 3-way, and I was fooled. I had straightened up. Was like, oh yeah. So, I remember one of my friends was like, this goddamn Bobby Bowden. He had his voice down. He was like, I'm looking for Mr. Josh Crib. It was his voice. I can't reenact it, but my friends, as soon as I said something to the affirmative, like, yes, sir, coach, I heard all these different voices laughing and snickering and, we got, I was just so embarrassed.
Erroneous on both counts.
Wow.
But damn!
The leads are weak. Leads are weak. Fucking leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years. What's your name? You. That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name.
I think we've officially lost all of our more conservative viewers. So I don't think they want to listen any longer.
This is it's Mother Nature.
Where's Logo Girl when you need her?
I desperately want to make love to
It's Cheese
We
Girl.
need Cheese Girl now.
Oh, man.
We need Cheese Girl now.
Eating
We
that
need
much
Cheese Girl now.
Eating that
We
much
need
cheese.
Cheese Girl now.
Down goes Anderson! Down goes Anderson!
Who's canceled now? Who's canceled now?
Probably me.
You making fun of fat people?
I'm not. Just you.
We're a whole race, basically.
No way. You just finger bang their salad. What?
You first get shocked, and then you get the shocker.
Hey, you like to see almost naked? That's cool, man. Whatever.
No. I am the one who knocks.
Today's episode was brought to you by Towpath Vodka. Towpath Vodka, an award-winning, ultra-premium, extremely smooth, high-quality vodka. 6 times distilled and made from Midwest corn and Ohio fruit.
Clean and crisp, a truly high-quality spirit made right here in Northeast Ohio. Available locally in Northeast Ohio and online in 44 states. Towpath Vodka.
Hey, Browns fans! This is your chance to join the company of some of the Browns' all-time greats on the first ever Browns fan cruise. Picture this. For 5 unforgettable days, you're sailing across the beautiful Caribbean Sea, reliving the Browns' greatest moments, getting autographs, snapping photos, and celebrating on the beach with your favorite Browns alumni, like Josh Cribbs, Webster Slaughter, Eric Metcalf, and a dozen others. Book now and take advantage of our easy, budget-friendly payment plans on this once-in-a-lifetime, all-inclusive cruise adventure. The clock's ticking, Browns fans. To book your cabin and for more information, visit brownsfancruise.com or call 216-284-6472 today. Browns Fan Cruise, where diehard fans and Browns alumni come together for the trip of a lifetime. Don't wait, secure your spot today, and go Browns!